Or pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, I did the pledge.
No problem. Before we go into voting, I just wanted to let the public know. See everybody's distance, that's good. But what we want to do is we want to triage this because we want to see what part of business the bulk of the people are here for, because we're gonna address that first. And then we're gonna ask that people that are staying for other business, we'll see what's going on there, because there was a little bit of confusion because on the council side, our communication didn't indicate this as a closed meeting, but it had to be put on the door. So there's a miscommunication there, but rather than have the council separate from the commissioners, we've made an agreement that we'll do that first. And so, if it's all right with everybody, I'll just say the first thing that was on here was the reorganization board. We're not here for that, but Stark County Economic Development Contract. How many people are here for that? You were here for that, though, weren't you, Jim? Okay, and then the prosecutor update, that wouldn't be J&K. Is anybody here from J&K?
I'm J&K.
Okay, planning commission.
I'm here. It's Roger. I'm on Skype, Zoom.
Okay, Roger's on Zoom. Before that, please turn your phone off, though, whoever's on Zoom that has their phone on and Zoom. And this is the changes to the job description for position and salary. Is there anybody here for that? And everything else is no, man. So what?
Was that a planning commission you said?
So far, it's just you that's here for the planning commission. Who else?
Yeah. Nobody else is going to be there.
Okay, the planning commission, the other thing, the planning commission on the commissioner side is zoning discussion. The job description and salary is part of this meeting. So is anybody here?
Right.
Nobody raised their hand because you couldn't be here for the auditor claims. Unless you're here for territorial or,
What are you guys here for?
yeah, I mean,
Does this have anything to do with the building inspector?
okay, that's planning commission. So if you're here about the building inspector, raise your hand. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and do that first. We're not gonna kick Jim out. He's part of government. So what we'll do is we'll make that the first order of business. So then, I believe.
If you want to sit back here, Jim, there's a table back here.
I believe by statute, I would turn over the reorganization of the council to the auditor, actually. Is that correct?
Yes. You're doing the reorganization of the
You got a
council.
gavel in the start the reorganization.
I gotta call the meeting to order?
No, we already did that.
Oh,
You just have to do
You
the,
just have to ask if
open
there's a
the,
motion for a vice
Open
and
the floor
for
for
a motion for a
reorganization.
You're
president.
now open for the reorganization
Really, she's
of the
open.
council. Is there a motion for the president?
I make a motion that we remain Dave Pearman as president of the council.
I'll second
You have to call the roll call too.
I have to call the roll call?
Yeah.
all those in
Oh, all those in
favor?
favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye. I'm not on that side of the, I just write it down.
Is there any opposed?
Is there any opposed? All in favor?
That's all.
We already did
All
that.
good.
Now Dave can take over.
Now, Dave, can you please take over?
Sorry. I will ask for a nomination for vice president.
I'll nominate Brad Hazelton.
We have a nomination for Brad Hazelton. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I have a second from Mr. Binkley. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And is there any opposed? All in
Thanks.
favor, Rachel. Thank you, everybody. Look forward to working with everybody.
Dave, can I just say you do that much better than me?
Are you kidding me? You gave me a compliment? There must be something coming here.
It's the sensitivity training I got her going to.
Just for housekeeping purposes, we do have a draft from Monday, December 21st. Would anybody like to make a motion about those minutes?
So moved.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I forgot to start the meeting. We have to do that.
Well, we have to do all the appointments.
Well, we were going to move, we can do the other appointments. Let's do Marty
do
first
Marty.
because he's
So
here.
otherwise I
So-
can't.
Yeah, so that we can have an attorney present, and I don't see anybody else here that is want to be nominated. but-
Make a motion, we reappoint Martin R. Lucas as our attorney for the county council.
We have a motion for Martin R. Lucas.
I'll second
Is
it.
there a second? Okay, is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? And then I believe somebody was making a motion about these minutes. Is there a second?
I did.
Second. All those in favor for the minutes for Monday, December 21st?
Aye.
And then there's also November 16th, which not everyone will be on that, obviously. So, okay, so we did get a communication about some,
We're just gonna jump to it.
I think let's do that so we can get everybody moving, then we'll do our appointments after that.
Yep.
Because none of those reflect the need,
That's what I was asking.
continuing the meeting. Is that okay with everyone? It's okay with you?
That makes sense. You can proceed then.
Okay, so the council was given some information. I'm not sure that it's really clear to anybody on the council, but that there was some discussion about making a change on the planning commission. Rachel, did you end up putting those minutes?
It's, yeah, it's all,
Is it under the job description?
yeah, it's the job description, salary, and then the minutes.
And so, just to remind the council, where our authority lies is the salary ordinance. And then we also are involved with approving job descriptions, things like that. But as far as the authority for hiring and firing employees, rests with commissioners. I think maybe since we have all these people here, I think maybe we should hear the testimony first, since it's relevant to this, and then we can go backwards and look at what the planning commission is proposing. But I guess just to set the stage for it, we should do that at least. So it sounds like, and Roger, can you hear me, Roger?
Yeah,
It sounds like from what the council, just at high level here, just to outline what the council was said, and I believe that we will do the same for the commissioners then, is that your board is proposing that the council, that Terry was terminated, and that you would like to take the current office person, change her to the old role, and then make this building inspector separate and hire a separate building inspector and basically flip-flop the salary. Would that be
that's correct.
okay? So I think in that, probably the major business is just the salary ordinance change, which would have the authority of the council. So I think then would be we could act on that, then we could hear the testimony, just of whether council is going to, act on their part of it.
I guess I would suggest, and I would say, I don't think this is hard and fast rule, but possibly if there was a proposition on the floor, it would make the statements of the public more useful. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Is the proposition to adopt that, or is the proposition to change that, or is the proposal from the plan commission? Does that make sense? Is it to adopt it? Is it to change it? Or is it to reject it? I think those are your choices.
Yeah.
And then start with a proposition from
The testimony may help that.
and then the testimony would be in for or against, or maybe for another option as well,
Okay.
right?
So by roll call, why don't we just start left to right? And then, so we'll ask you, sir, to start, and then we'll just go one by one through the room. Or do you think it would be a good idea to have Terry speak first and then have?
Probably Terry.
I
However,
thought of that
however you want to
afterthought.
attack that.
I would say
It's
Terry.
just, but I think you should have. like, a
Yeah,
proposition.
let's start with that. Why don't we just have, we saw what we got from the board via the minutes. And so maybe we could just have an overall explanation from Terry, what has led up to this. And basically what's going
Guess
on.
what's going on?
Yeah,
Dave, is he addressing the commissioners, the council?
we're in joint session.
But if the council doesn't have any say over the hiring or firing.
The council has the authority over the salary. They're also proposing that the salaries flip-flop. So they will hear the testimony with it for their decision, but we'll make the decision since, it's sort of council first type of thing is how this works. And then it continues through with more business for them, but it's kind of like more council in the first part of this meeting. So So, we'll
Trying to
probably,
combine it to.
yeah, and so
Move you
what we
guys
would
along.
normally do in this case is we handle the salary ordinance, we'll work on that, and then, it'll also be, your testimony will be part of what they hear for decisions, because they have the authority to make the decision about who has the job or not. And yes, and we'll also ask everyone to speak up, because we have several people on Zoom, including the president of the board, the zoning board, so, or the planning commission. So, sir, in Orange, if we could have you start, if you could state your name, and then, tell us what you'd like to say about, well, I'm sorry, wait a minute, we're gonna have Terry go first, my bad. Sorry, Terry.
Well, as you all know, I was relieved of my job for doing my job. Okay, this all started back in the summer when Roger and Bill gave $4,000 away to move the semi-trailer that Mr. Pagnia was gonna move for nothing. Then they went over and they give $2,800 to do a cleanup to one of the contractors, Patrick, that the sheriff was coming with inmates to do, and all it was gonna cost the county is dumpster fees. Okay, when I brought this up, questioned it, I've been on their poop list ever since. They had that secret meeting, tried to fire me there, found out they can't fire me, they had to not appoint me. Okay, and then I got a call on a Sunday that we had an unregistered contractor working in the county. I went out there, I asked the guy, are you a registered contractor? He told me he didn't need to be registered because he had it worked out with Bill. And then he went off with the cussing and carrying on, and then finally the sheriff deputy had to come there. DNR was there.
Can I ask you to pause this 1 second, Terry?
Yes.
When you say Bill, who do you mean by Bill?
Bill Crace.
Bill Crace, the surveyor. And
Yeah.
so does the surveyor have the authority by himself to make decisions for the whole board?
No, and that's the thing. We got a 9-member board and 2 people are making all the decisions.
So just so the council understands, then you would typically need 5 yay votes, or nay, or whatever the agenda is of a motion to approve something like, forgiving,
And they didn't ask me, they didn't go to the board, they just did it.
okay.
Okay, so then, Roger calls me and tells me he's waiving the fines for this guy. And I question him and everything. Then finally, Mr. Bedrock says that you do not have the authority to do that.
You or Roger?
Told Roger he didn't have the authority to waive the fines.
Okay.
And he told me Roger didn't have the authority to waive the fines. So I proceeded with what I was supposed to do. I sent out a registered letter to the guy. And then I found out he was working out here on State Road 8 on Top Chest. I went out there with Bose as a witness, and I gave him the paper. He threw it back in my face and just started cussing like he did that Sunday. Okay, and he pointed his finger at me and said, "You're gonna lose your job for cussing." Okay, and then he got on the phone and called Bill. Well, when that Sunday was out there, Bill came. He says, "Oh, I don't even know the guy."
You don't know the guy, or Bill doesn't know?
Bill doesn't know the guy.
Okay.
But yet, all of a sudden, he, this out-of-town contractor, unregistered, coming down here, getting a lot of work, and he doesn't have to be registered. I do my job, I didn't lose my job. All these other contractors, they all get registered, pay their insurance, their bonds, and everything, workman's comp. This guy doesn't have to. And so I do my job, I lose my job.
And does Bill Crace know that they have to be registered
Yes.
to be doing this?
Yes.
Okay.
And the thing that really bugs me the most, none of them ask my side of the opinion, my story. How can you vote to take a man's job away when you don't hear the story? My side. We got due process. It's the United States of America.
When you say none of them, do you mean the board, or
The
are you
board,
just speaking
yes, the
about
board.
individuals?
None of them asked me anything. And in the suspension thing, it doesn't say why I suspended. And in the paper I got, registered letter, I had to cover the thing up. It says I was fired because of things that led up to this. What are the things? I would like to know why. What is the reasons? Also, I was told that Mr. Chesney says that contractors have called complaining about me. I would like to know who they are. I need to know who they are. I also want to know if it's not a conflict of interest for Bill Crace to be working for a excavating contractor on the side who happens to not be
Who does he
registered.
work for?
I do know county jobs.
Pardon me?
I won't be doing no county jobs. If I got hired privately, that's all there
Are
is
you a
to it.
registered contractor?
I didn't know I was supposed to be.
See, I mean,
I'm being honest.
why I get aggravated, you know, and yes, when the guy did come in, his son come in to pay the fine, Mary got in my face and says, no, I'm not taking the money. I can't take the money. I'll lose my job. And if you keep pursuing this, you're gonna lose your job. You need to quit fooling around with Jack, which is Mr. Peg, okay? And I did lose my cool and said, who in the F told you this? Because I've had it with him trying to run my office.
Did she say who told her?
No, she didn't say. Well, it's very obvious who did, because it's Bill did, because he's been doing this.
But without hearing her say.
Without hearing, yes, I'm not gonna bear false witness. So she got her coat on, she walked up to the door where everybody could see her and said, I quit. I'm not gonna have anybody talk to me like that. But, okay, she quit. That afternoon, she's there. If she quit to her supervisor, doesn't that job have to be read?
Just for clarity then for the board though, I mean, you were her supervisor. You
Yes,
were her
I was
boss.
her supervisor.
Okay.
And I asked her to do a job. She said she couldn't because she was told that she would lose her job.
And did you tell her that was insubordination or something
No,
along
I
those
did
lines?
not. I told her, you know, I asked her who told her that, but I did use the F word. And I apologize for it, but I was very, very aggravated because another department should not come into this department and tell you, the girls that work for you, what to do.
Right, but are you saying then that you were being fired because you used the F word? Or was it
I have no-
because
there's
you
no-
raised question about these fines and different
There's
jobs
nothing on
that
there
were?
says why I was fired. Nothing. And nobody called the special session to have me come in and explain my side of the story. And it's wrong. Don't, you think you're taking a man's job away, you're both sides of the story?
Okay, so if I could have you pause 1 second, I'd like to ask the council for a motion to have the auditor do an audit of these bills, fines, and bills for the work that you're talking about for, I think you named 2 things, but we'd like to audit that to be able to get some information, some better information. I'd like to ask for a motion for that. Just 1 second.
I'll make that motion.
You have a motion from Don. And then for further discussion, has any of the council heard from any other vendors that might have been, looking for that work or bid? Did we bid those jobs?
No, he just gave them out.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second. Was there any other discussion for anybody else? All those in favor, please say aye.
Wait, who was the second?
The second was Don White.
Who was the first?
I thought Don was the first.
Mm.
I didn't say anything.
Oh,
I'll second.
you were,
Yeah.
you have a
I
second.
like this other people.
Don and Don.
Don and Don.
I think it's gonna be between you and Binkley now with the
Double
motions.
Okay, so if I could just have to pause for 1 second here. Roger, is all of that pretty consistent with your knowledge of what transpired here?
That's pretty consistent, other than the fact that, like the trailer moving, we waited 2 or 3 months and nothing was done, so we made our own move on that out there by the Toto Road. And on the other thing,
Okay,
as
just 1
far
second.
as,
Was that bid on and was that a motion from your board to pay somebody instead of doing it for free? Would that be in the minutes somewhere that you?
it was not a bid on or anything like that. Terry was gonna do it for nothing with his buddy, and nothing was got done, and we kept getting phone calls about it. And we just decided to move on it,
Was the buddy the sheriff?
we being Bill and I.
The state caused a holdup. They said there might be hazardous material in there. That's why there was a holdup. And once we got the okay, Mr. Contagion and Howard's towing, we went there and there was a semi parked in front of the trailer, couldn't get it out. And you can ask them and you can ask Ronnie Bailey, who owns the property now.
And you can ask Brian Cavalier, because we discussed it right before it happened. Him and I discussed it.
You know-
Just for the record, we're talking about quotes technically, not bids. I mean, not
Quotes,
to do,
yeah.
get to too
Quotes,
technical.
quotes,
These are
right.
quotes we're talking about.
And so, just back to the thing too, where you were talking about, it sounds like Bill has been. So, Roger, would you agree with what Terry said, that Bill Crace does not have the authority to unilaterally make a lot of these decisions and basically being essentially Terry's boss on a lot of these things, or does your board give Bill Crace that authority?
Well, Bill doesn't have the authority, but Bill calls me and I decided with him and anybody else that we call.
So basically, you and Bill have the authority to make decisions for the board. You have that, you've been given that authority by your board to be able to make the decisions together then?
I don't know if the board gives us the authority, but, you know, I've never been asked that question before.
Probably to make it clear now.
But
Roger-
what happens is something is voted on to be done, and then it takes too long to get it done and people complain, so we just make a move on it.
So-
that long, you couldn't take it to a meeting?
Yeah, so like, Brad just raised the point of if it takes that long, then why does that not be able to be done at a meeting with your board? I mean, there's a
Can't
lot of
wait
things
another
that we
month?
could- I mean, we can't do that on the council, for example, and we're part of the county executive. I mean, I don't understand how, appointed boards are able to take that kind of authority.
Mhm.
But we'll keep going then. The only other thing that I'll say about Bill working, possibly though, Bill has probably put on file a confident, conflict of interest form. So we'll make an investigation into that. Do you have any knowledge of that at this point?
No, the clerk's office takes it. But if a county employee works, if they put the conflict of interest form on file, then it should be. No, I don't know if that's been filed.
As far as the job on North Street, we went there with the prisoners and the sheriff last fall. And then the commissioners rejected the ordinance that we put forth so that we could split the money and everything, and we give it to Mr. Lucas, and he spent quite a bit of time on it. That was the delay on cleaning up the North Street thing.
Are you?
No, I agree. That's true. It took a while. We went through, I think it's finally gone through, but it took a while to get.
So it wasn't Terry's fault.
No, that's true.
Okay.
That's true.
So just so I can understand then, just in the scope of originally where you were at, Roger, I believe, just so you know, Roger, I believe that we have gotten a response from the state that your board is an advisory board. You do not have the authority to hire and fire somebody or set the salary ordinance. But I think that, just for clarity, then I'll ask the question, because they do have that authority. So the allegations against Mr. Stevenson are mainly that he cussed, or like what were, give us a better perspective now of why he's being let go.
Or why they want.
Why he's being let go? The board, the planning board appoints that position, okay? We chose not to appoint him because of all the problems we've had before with verbal abuse to people. And then he said, she said, and we've had that same problem in meetings when patrons are in there talking about what we've got problems with, and he becomes verbally abusive with them.
And that's here, yeah, Kay is correct. That's here. Do you have any signed affidavits that would support that?
Do I have any signed affidavits? I got statements from the last time from the girls in the office when what went on there.
And were those filed with the auditor, or were they legally,
They're in the planning commission's minutes, I believe.
I read the minutes.
And the meetings are all recorded too, so we can listen to them if you want.
I have a witness that was there the day, actually 3 witnesses, that I had this conflict with Mary. They can tell you, I said one bad word. I didn't cuss her out like they're saying and all this.
But they make
I
a
just want to
recommendation.
understand
They
how
don't
in
appoint.
the world can you not hear both sides of the story before you relieve somebody of their job? And none of this paperwork that they've given me says why I was. And I asked Bill when he gave me this paper, I said, what is the reason? He said, you went against the board's decision.
When you say he gave you that paper, you're saying they called you to a meeting and handed this to you at their meeting?
Yes. An hour after I had this little discussion with Mary, I went to do my inspections. I come back, or got a phone call that I was supposed to be there at the office. Okay. And
at this off, in this room for a board meeting. You were given that by
No,
their
it wasn't
board.
at a board meeting.
Was it for the board
Can
meeting?
we ask questions there? Terry, was the commissioner notified about this, or did Bill do this?
Well, here's the paper, and Dave can read it to him. It tells you who was there or who signed it. Mr. Jessup and Bill.
I'll just read this for everybody. It says,
What's the date?
yes, the date is December 8th, 2020. It's Terry Stevenson at his address. It says notice of disciplinary action, suspension with pay. Mr. Stevenson, this letter is to inform you that you are suspended with pay beginning Tuesday, December 8th, 2020. You are not to have any contact or dealings with County Planning Commission work during your suspension. You will also need to turn in keys, phone, and no use of county vehicle until after suspension. Thank you, Bill Craze. As instructed by Charlie Chesak, President, Board of Commissioners, Bill Craze, Surveyor, and Stark County Planning Commission Vice President. So I ask again, Roger, so your board would not have to exercise this. This could be done by Mr. Craze then, as long as he's instructed by.
Well, one thing I want to be, I don't believe there's a,
Not a termination.
there's not a contract, just to be clear for the record, there's no contract. And it's an appointment, right? So, yeah, I mean, I don't want to be clear on the record, it's not like,
Now, one of the things though is that
Conventional
even though
employment,
he's
right.
appointed, he's still a state and county employee. And so he still falls under our employee handbook.
he's definitely a county employee, I don't know if he's a state.
Okay, county
Yeah, he's
employee.
a county
Yeah.
employee, right, and I agree, he's under the handbook clearly, that's what we can answer for
So
sure.
do we normally, as our policy, if somebody uses profanity one time, do we have any process in our handbook that says how to reprimand somebody?
Well, it is a judgment call, there is also, policy against the hostile work environment, right?
Right.
So,
But what is the proceeding for that? Does it say that, I know this is an at-will state, things like that, but I mean, do we have anything in our employee handbook that describes how somebody is disciplined?
typically that's by the job, their supervisor, their immediate supervisor.
And
In my.
Dave,
Which would.
excuse me, Dave.
President of the board, I assume, right?
that just says iPhone. Who do we have on?
Hey, Dave, this is Bill Crace on here. I'd like to clarify a couple little things here. First of all, the cleanups that was taking place, the trailer, for instance, when that was done, we have a commissioner that sits on our planning board, which is Mr. Cavender. Mr. Cavender was well aware. We talked to Mr. Bedrock. The trailer had not been cleaned up like it had previously been supposed to clean up, and I was asked to get that cleaned up by Mr. Cavender, which I let Mr. Chaffins know. I made no decision by myself, period.
So you and Mr. Chaffins made the decision together. And so Mr. Cavender, so this is the case.
Okay,
You
I didn't
gave them
know.
the authority just to go to
And
one.
And I'm not, Dave.
Thing I did not know was that Terry had it all set up with Mr. Campagno to get it done for free. That part I did not know. And I know it was taking a while to get it done, and I agree, let's get it done, but.
And I'm guessing you didn't know about the hazardous material
No, I didn't
hold up
know
or
about
whatever,
that
what
either.
the hold up was that you said there.
Yes, the state got involved because of Mr. Strong, the state trooper that's here. And they said it might be hazardous waste, so we couldn't do anything. Now, see, that's what I'm saying. All this stuff is going on behind the board. Nobody asks me what's going on. What's taking
Dave.
just what this, nobody. They just make decisions. Why do we have 7 other members on this board if we only got 2 people making decisions? And I
Hey,
want
Dave.
one other thing is when they had their meeting this summer, they promised the job to Pam. And that's why all this is just led up to this. It's been a nightmare working up there. You know, you work with these people for years and years, thinking you're friends, you treat them like family, but you get that little title. They, you know.
So Bill, I'll let you talk in a second, but just so I don't lose my train of thought on that. Now, I'm gonna be honest here. I am aware of this about this past summer that Terry was told by Bill that he was gonna change jobs with Pam. And I said, Terry, that's ridiculous. You've got a board that would do that. And no offense to Pam, because I've had my own projects. And Terry, I'll tell you what, you've also gone to my work sites, I work with Jake and others, and had to spend extra money. And you know what, I had no forgiveness either, because I was on the council. I was glad because it was a safer building, you know, things like that. But, you know, back to that, like, personally, I don't think I think Pam's great at her job, but I mean, I don't know if she's ever built anything. I think that was the thing, is years and years of experience building. But I just wanted to say that, if I could just interject, that you did tell me that, and I was aware that that was going on back then. And I will say, though, on top of that, you know, all these years that I've been on the council, so many times, and other people on this board can say too, that Pam has wanted to find different ways to have more money. You always advocated for her action, like, and I also can say that you called me on the side many times, hey, what can we do for Pam? She wants more money. There is a limit to that, though, and I'll just say that since we're starting out a new year, and this government and everything else, when people run for an office or they apply for a government job, they know what it pays. There's no guarantee, whether it's police officer or anything else, there's no guarantee that it's ever going to be, you know, more than what normal guidelines.
If there was, we'd be
are.
making a heck of a lot more
There
money.
you go. So I just want to interject that, and I believe Bill was next, and I believe Howard wanted to go with that. Bill, you wanted to rebut something that Terry said?
Yeah, I had two more statements. First of all, I did not tell Terry he was being replaced by Pam. That was talked about in a board meeting and so forth, and was not followed through with. I did not tell Terry on a one-on-one conversation that he was being replaced. The next thing I would like to say is that the deal up on North Street, once again, Mr. Cavender was there. We had a meeting with our attorney, Marty Bedrock, in a phone conference with Marty Lucas about our process of cleaning that up. And I was asked to clean that up as well. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Rachel was there with us in the meeting where we had talked about this so long. We got it cleaned up. I done what I was ordered to do. Once again, shared the information, not only with Roger, but the whole planning commission that time. These are not decisions that I am making by myself.
So just
Nor
for
do I
clarity, Bill, you were told by your board to select your own contractor and just get it done. Like, you could have done it
Yeah,
yourself.
get it done, get it done, get it cleaned up. We're tired of looking at it.
Roger, would you agree that Bill was given that authority?
Yes, I would.
Okay, we have an appointment on that board. I'd like to ask Howard if he recalls that he was.
That I don't recall. What I wanted, my statement that I wanted to say, I sat on the planning commission. I'm fairly new to it, so I am learning. At our last planning commission meeting, I thought we were doing was reappointing Pam and other positions. So I nominated Pam, and what I thought I was doing to her current job only, with no salary increases, period. And that is why I made that motion, that she would remain in her current job. As a planning commission member, I was never aware of, and I'm not saying it didn't happen, but as a planning commission member, I was never aware that there was some type of a secret thing going on to replace Terry with her. That I want to make that public. I was never aware of that.
Well, he talked about the salary. And Pam went down to Bill's office.
But we didn't talk about the salary in a public meeting.
No, in the public meeting. They were gonna combine the two, divide them in half, and give Pam the most.
Well, as a board member of the planning commission, I was not aware of that.
And in defense of you, Howard, there's no discussion here about that. In fact, Mr. Chapin stated that he'd like to see the administrator and clerk be the same person. Now, when I hear the word administrator, even like, I didn't know that was Terry's title. I thought it was the director. So when I think of administrator, I think of admin, I think of secretary. But then it never actually got motion. What happened is they went right into the officer, and that's where you made the motion, was just when that position.
My motion was made to retain Pam at the current job she was doing, period.
Rachel, could you please make sure that the record reflects that Mr. Bailey was stating that in that board meeting, that was his motion? just so that they can have that for their.
But as far as switching salaries around and doing things like that, as a board member, I was never made aware of.
There was never any mention any salaries on the
Right.
board.
Right, that meeting,
Never.
Raj, we didn't mention any of that.
That's right. We didn't mention any of that. We
Right.
mentioned we were gonna change the titles and change it to the planning administrator clerk job. And then just advertise to get a new building commissioner, which is basically your inspector. They don't need to, Pam doesn't need to know how to build houses. The administrator doesn't need to know how to build houses or anything like that. She delegates the person to do that stuff.
Okay, so Rachel, how were you notified that the council was expected to change the salary ordinance and also that the job description was being changed, and who made this new job description?
Pam called me and said she was now the administrator and the clerk. I said, per how our rules are, you can't just change job descriptions. The job descriptions have to go to the Board of Commissioners, and if you want to change the job description, because right now Terry is the Planning Commission Administrator / Building Inspector. That's the job description. Pam is the clerk. That's the job description. So if they want to change it to clerk administrator and then to building inspector only, the Board of Commissioners are going to have to approve that. The council is going to have to approve the salary change. And she presented me with all these documents that you see in front of you, the job descriptions and then the salary request.
Okay, so before we go on with testimony, what I'd like to say, Marty, is I think what we'll do is we'll let them see if they're gonna make a motion or not on the job description change, because there's no
Right,
reason to
there's
ask.
nothing, I would agree, there's nothing before you if they don't do that.
Right.
And there's no, and I had some discussions there about the, the little bit of wiggle room or the vagary about the exact, implication of the statute, but I think this one is not in dispute whatsoever. Clearly, the commissioners have control over the job description, right? And clearly, you have control over the salary ordinance. So that doesn't leave us in any place where there's actually any legal issues to worry about. Does that all make sense to everybody? Okay.
And so basically, just so everybody's clear, especially for all the new people, basically what is happening is they want to make the person that has basically been the clerk, the secretary, the head of the department, and also in all your other role, but then hire a separate building inspector.
Oh, there's Leslie.
What?
There's Leslie, she's in there.
Terry, did you have anything else that you wanted to say before we hear from the?
No, I just am very unhappy and disappointed with the board that nobody asked my opinion. That is totally wrong. And I also will advise the board that I'm thinking seriously of getting the Indiana State White Collar Commission to come down and investigate what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
They have to make a decision on what they're doing with their, since the board can't do it, right?
Right. So that'll be before we do this on it. So we'll let them go. But
No,
why don't,
I think he's saying, is Terry,
Is Terry still employed or not? Because
That's- yeah.
you guys, I guess you guys are the ones that have to make that decision. The plan commission can say what they want, but you make the decision on whether or not he's still an employee.
he's suspended right now,
Correct.
still, correct? Right now, he's suspended.
as of right now, he supposedly, the planning commission, terminated him on the 11th. That is how I understand it. So does the planning commission have that authority, or where are we going with this?
We didn't terminate him on the 11th. We
Then
just
what'd
didn't
you do?
reappoint him this year. He was on a paid leave to the end of the year, and we didn't reappoint him this year.
Because just so you know, your minutes don't even reflect that.
That's what's.
Who got appointed?
It says suspended in the letter, that's why I said
So
suspended.
he has a termination letter
I thought they
too.
appointed somebody else.
I don't know. Marty, I have no
They
idea.
do have authority to do the appointment of the administrator.
Okay, so I'm gonna read this other letter from January 13th.
Right, they can make a recommendation if you appoint, but they still appoint, just like the EMA.
This is a letter from the Stark County Planning Commission Board, but I don't see all of the board signatures on it, any board signatures. So,
Is there a date on that?
there is a date, January 13th, 2021, but it just says the board. Normally, if we were going to take some kind of action, we would sign it. So, but maybe there's a
Don't you have
signed
to sign
copy.
it to make it legal?
I usually just have the president sign your guys' thing.
Well, nobody
Right,
signed
the
this.
president hasn't signed this either, or the commissioner or anything. It says, I regret to inform you that your employment with Stark County Planning Commission has ended as of January 11th, 2021. So this would qualify as a termination letter. The Planning Commission Board unanimously voted not to reappoint you to your position with the Planning Commission due to your recent suspension and the events that led up to that suspension. Your final paycheck will be sent out January 29th, 2021. That will include 1 day's pay for the pay period of January 10th to the 23rd and any earned vacation time that you have left.
So I mean, just for HR purposes for my office, I need to know if this is correct, because this is what my office has, or
I don't think the board can legally do that.
No, I think the commissioners would have had to have done this. I mean, this is.
It's just on a procedural basis, if Mr. Stevenson wants to appeal, the thing would be to appeal that, okay?
Well,
In my
if it
opinion.
happens, like it hasn't happened yet, because the
Well,
commissioners haven't executed it.
if it's taken, I guess you could decide that it was null, but I mean, I don't know if that's totally clear. I guess my recommendation would be to appeal a decision like that.
That's the problem, is the Attorney General, that's why I like Curtis, that was
Well-
always about authority of, who has authority,
The statute gives them the authority to appoint one, so.
but it does not actually say that they have the authority to fire them, and
No,
then tell them, oh, you're gonna get your vacation, all this, like all these things
I guess-
that we would say from the HR
Was
side.
there an investigation into why he was suspended? I don't know a whole lot about this whole thing, just what Terry said tonight, but,
Again,
if there's no investigation on why you're suspended, nobody's ever went and listened to Terry's side of the story, I don't see how we can fire, not reappoint, whatever you want to say, Terry, when nobody's ever even went to him, according to him, and listened to his side of the story.
One thing I'd like to know, given, since there's so little detail in the minutes from their last plan commission meeting, if any of the other indiscretions from Mr. Stevenson were documented at a public meeting of plan commission.
Good question. Roger, do you have other documentation that may not be before us that outline all of these indiscretions that are?
No, there's no documentation that I have on that. It was all what was told to me by several people, okay?
Can't fire somebody on
Was
hearsay.
it discussed at a plan commission meeting?
There was nothing discussed at the planning commission meeting.
Not worth it.
You can't fire somebody on hearsay.
We didn't fire anybody. We're just not reappointing him.
But you suspended him on hearsay.
Suspended him for his actions in December. And he can file a grievance with the commissioners if he doesn't like what we did.
Right, I guess the problem is what we're finding here is you may not have had the authority for that, but I think maybe the next step is, because the commissioners are present and in quorum, they're here. There are people here, I'm not sure if they're the people that you're speaking of, or if they're here on Mr. Stevenson's behalf, I don't know. But, I do know that, I do know most of these gentlemen, I know they're contractors, and so.
Yes.
Everybody here
Is a contractor.
represent Terry on an hour's notice tonight.
Yes.
We found out about this about 4:30, that there was a meeting at 5:30.
Okay.
Here we are.
Do you feel like you've had enough time though to understand what the whole story is? Okay,
Bunch
so
of hooey.
let's start then. I think then, just so we don't keep dragging it out. I think we know what went on.
Yes.
I think that what we've got identified here is that really the commissioners have the authority. Now, I believe we've learned some things on the council side, that there have been some jobs hired and also some fees, some fines waived. We've asked the auditor already and made a motion to do an audit on that because we need to know that. And whoever, if they had authority, fine, that'll be fine when it comes out. If they didn't, then we can take further, action on that. That is a commissioner, business there. That's council business because it's,
Is that saying if they have the authority to waive the fines?
If they're waived, how much they were, who waived them. I mean, it sounds like,
They have the authority to waive.
right, because it sounds like we're hearing in a lot of the cases that it was one individual that was telling Terry to waive the fines. So, I mean, we're gonna have to build that evidence. I mean, we're not here to deal with another employee or elected official right now. This is
Sitting
just
in the
Terry.
peanut gallery, it sounds like 2 people made all the decisions.
Well, I think that's one thing that we'll
Can we run through a couple
cover
of this, Marty,
yeah.
everyone know?
So, yeah, why don't we do that though, just so you're not here getting heated up and you're not at risk, even though you're 6 foot apart. But, sir, if you could state your name and then we'll just go through the whole room and let you say your piece.
My name is Doug Allen. I'm here today because I was a witness to the unregistered contractor situation that happened. And the unregistered contractor cussed Terry like a sailor with a hand on a gun on his side. And it was very heated. The law came out there, the county cops, the game warden, and Terry asked if the man was registered to be working in the county. And he said, I don't have to be. Bill Crace and I got it worked out. And that's the exact words that come out of his mouth.
That's the wrong guy.
I'm not sure if I see the iPhone icon on the screen anymore, but I will ask our.
And when Bill Crace showed up, the cop asked him if he knew that guy. He said, absolutely not. I don't know who he is. That's exactly what he said.
Something wrong here.
And I'll testify to that in court.
Hey, Dave.
Yes.
Hey, that contractor, I don't know him. He's from LaPorte County. He has never worked in Fort Stark County, period, for the surveyor's office. Every job we do is on file up there. Elmer Veros did come in and eventually sign up. Matter of fact, the day that I was out there, I made him park his machine. He has never worked for us.
Is this Elmer Verrill that you're speaking of, sir? And Terry, we never had a name earlier. And so, but Bill, are you denying though, Bill, that you did not want Terry, that you wanted Terry to waive the fine? Are you denying that now?
God, Elmer Verrill's old.
No, I never asked Terry to waive the fine.
He is.
Oh, I'm sorry, Roger, did you?
I was the one that told him to waive the fine because I was tired of all the bull crap that was going on.
So because there's bull crap, you have the authority for the county not to collect their funds?
I doubt very much if I have the authority, but I just get sick and tired of it. And during the board meetings, we all, 99% of the time, we waive the fines on that stuff.
That's in a board meeting.
And that was the key thing.
Hey, Dave.
Yes.
Hey, I'd like to finish, but far as Elmer, he still is not, even though he is registered as a contractor in Stark County, he is not doing any county jobs. The job he's working on right now out there on Route 8 that he finished is funded and paid for by the farmers. You can talk to Todd Lawrence, Dan Gums, and those guys. That is not a county job. The county gave the farmers permission to work in the easement, but that's a unfunded drain. We do not even have maintenance funds for that drain.
But you can't build a house in Stark County if you're
It says right,
not
the ordinance says
registered.
excavators are included in a
Yeah, right, yeah, I mean, we reviewed that in the ordinance. Excavators all have to have a license. I'm not sure what you mean, Bill.
He was doing the
He
work
is,
before he come
you're
in.
not listening. What I told you is he did come in and register.
Approached him out there, and this is all put together. It was all planned with Mary running off and that. Because the guy, when I went out there and approached him, and you can ask Bose or you can ask Lottie White, he went off like a rocket cussing. And he pointed his finger at me and said, you're gonna get fired for cussing. How does he know that if Bill doesn't know or Roger doesn't know him? And he said to me, the only reason you're out here today is because Bill's sick. Now, he doesn't know Bill, Bill doesn't know him. Come on.
Okay.
Hey, we do not know each other.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Hey, Dave.
When Bill Cray showed up, he said, "I'm sorry, I couldn't get here. I wasn't answering my phone because I was working on an excavator, doing some ditch work over, I guess, in the Judson area."
Bill,
Yes.
Price was.
Yes.
Bill, are you registered with the county?
Wasn't doing no ditch work, Dave. We were working on a pond.
Okay, well, I mean, that's a separate, well, we have that in the record, that's a separate, I don't want to really pick a lot of that apart, just because we have a lot of other people. Mr. Allen, did you have anything else that you wanted to address our boards with? So what we're just gonna ask everybody to do is, after you're done with your testimony, if you feel like you're done, we're just gonna ask everybody to exit, just so we can be compliant. Is that what we agreed on, Marty?
Well, it's really, I suppose.
Or is it all right if everybody stays till to your?
Here now.
I'd like to hear it.
Okay, well, yeah, then, okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I thought we were gonna have, you know. All right. Okay, all right, so go ahead. If you could state your name and then what you had to say, yes.
Larry Simoning, and I just found out about the meeting at, like I said, 4:30, and this is the results you got on an hour's notice. I'd hate to see if there was a week's notice. I think you'd had a lot more contractors, because Terry's been very fair with the guys in the area, and you know, he'll work with them, try not to cost him extra money, but you know, he just, you know, he tries to work with everybody. And I think if you go splitting your departments up, now you got to hire a building inspector, pay him once a raise. You think you're going to get a guy in here for $35,000 a year to do the building inspection job? I really doubt it.
No, because I know what's going on.
You're not here to apply for the job of.
I might be.
Is that all?
You know, after hearing this, you couldn't pay me enough money to come.
Is that all you had, Mr. Simone?
Yes.
Sir?
Mark
Oh,
Barrett.
wait, sorry, we'll go back and forth, sorry.
I just, my name's Tim Howard. I'm stuck on the allegations that he done this and he done that and he cussed people, carried on. I don't believe that, because I've been in trouble myself. And anytime there's a record, you know, where's the record? I don't see it. I mean.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Howard.
And like Larry said, he's been very fair, I think, with everybody in here. I've goofed up a little and had to fix some things. We had our ups and downs, but I fixed them, and, you know, we went on, so. I think somebody made a mistake.
Thank you. Sir? We'll just keep on going like this back and forth, sir.
Mark Matthew, I'm not a contractor, but he's helped me over the years, questions and stuff, and I just think Terry does a good job.
Okay.
That's all I have to say.
Ma'am?
Yeah, we own the
Could
business from Howard's.
Could you state your name now first?
My name is Dina Howard. That's my husband, Ben Howard. Anyway, I don't see any problem with him. I mean, he's been very good to us, and you know, there's some few things that we need to do, but you know, I mean, it's just not a problem at all. I mean, it's good to do it.
Sir?
My name's Gary Stacy, and I'm not a contractor, but I was there to witness Terry, and exactly like what Doug said. Terry was pretty polite, more than I would have been. That guy cussed. He pointed his finger and said, "You Phipps ought to go back to where you come from." If you know what that is. Illinois people.
Yeah, I know what it is. Not from Dodo.
I was there during the whole day. And Terry didn't get out of hand at all.
Okay. Sir?
That's exactly.
Sorry. Keep going.
My name's Don DeGard. I was there also, and I did not hear Terry say anything off color. And I can't believe he took it without getting upset. The gentleman that wasn't registered was on the other side of the ditch like a raving maniac. And I don't know how he continued.
On the other side of the ditch.
Sir?
I'm Jack Campagna. It was my property, so you heard it also. And I would like to know, since you're talking monetarily, everything that was put out for cleaning ditches and everything that Bill has spent, and what contractors have got it. And if that Elmer had any money on it.
It's all
Because
public.
Elmer made a statement that said, I'm working for Bill. So somebody's lying here.
That's
And I'd like
public,
to
that's
know.
public knowledge, so that.
And I'd like to know in dollars and cents, how much all the contractors have been paid the last 2 years and what they've been doing. Since I'm a contractor.
Yeah, you can actually access that. We can get you information on
Yeah.
that.
Also, he's talking about cussing people out. Ask Bill what he said to my son over the phone. Go ahead, Anthony, tell him.
He told me to shut my effing mouth when I was talking to him about, I called him the next day about the fine that they never gave the excavator, because I'm an excavator. And I don't appreciate, registering and getting all the license bond in, and then somebody else come in for free and do all the work.
Sure.
And I was on the phone with him, and as I was talking with him, he told me to shut my effing mouth. I'm just like my father, and I need to listen to him.
When you say Bill,
I did not say that either.
Bill, okay, I just want to make sure, you mean Bill Craze?
Yes, Bill Craze.
Yeah, he's talking about me, Dave. It was a very heated discussion because Anthony was mad over the situation, and I didn't make the decision to suspend that fine. But the issue was when Anthony called me, he was very irate, and I defended myself. I'm not making no bones about it. But what Anthony's not telling you is 30 seconds later, him and I sorted it out ourselves and talked for quite a few minutes. And as a matter of fact, I talked to him and his dad after that, and he was swearing at me as well.
Okay. So I think Mr. Craze is admitting that he swore at you. So Mr. Campagna and Mr. Campagna Jr., did you have anything else?
Yes, I called about the fine, and I talked to Roger Chafin, and I asked him why. I was polite. I was asking why it was not fining the guy. He told me that he wasn't going to, but he didn't want to, and that he may take some flack over it, but he didn't care.
Yeah, but I will say though that Mr. Chafin did say earlier that he did say that he was tired of, I believe he said something about tired of all the crap, I think was actually what he said. And so he did say that he took the, we are actually,
Tired of over somebody doing his job.
so we're gonna audit all that. So I mean, the council has already moved on that. So did you have anything else? Sir?
I'm Dennis Reese, I own Reese Construction, and I've worked with Terry for quite a few years, and I think he's very good at his job. I think he's full.
Okay, and sir, I skipped you, I just, because of the poll.
That's all right, I'll say the same thing these guys are saying. Terry's done his job, and to be treated the way he was treated in this horror ordeal is bogus. Jake Lovely. He's fair. You do wrong, he'll let you know you're doing wrong. You need something fixed, he's gonna make you fix it. He's not gonna pass it.
Yeah, he's not gonna cut you any slack.
No.
He's gonna let you, gonna let you fix it.
I mean, can't say any more about it. I wanted to find out what's going on up here that's so evil.
And I'll reiterate myself, I've worked with Jake, I've worked with Tennis, I've worked with the Campagnas. Terry's always come out and inspected. He never shirked that. And again, I'm a county employee and I didn't get any cut any slack because Terry mentioned something about, it was stated that you were, good to your friends or something or whatever. But, sir, next to Tennis.
Ray Stevenson, I was just here to listen. I've heard all the stories from my dad, different things, how Bill Crace has been involved in a deck out at the Harbor House. Why is he involved in that? It shouldn't be Roger and Bill making decisions. There should be documentation. I've sit on boards, I've been on city boards before. In the minutes, it should say what they voted on. It should say when there's been a complaint, what the complaint was. Is there any record the county has, the commissioners have any records of disciplinary? He should be, on the letters he put in the file, he should be reviewed. I just don't see where any of that's been done, so I'm really here to see procedurally how you guys are doing stuff. Because honestly, I'm the one recommending to him that he should take legal action. Why is he suspended? No. Roger Chafin's not God. He may think he is, but he's not. he wants to talk about improper actions. I've been in that, when he was in the knock nap, there's a reason he's not there anymore.
Yeah, okay, so, those kind of things,
I know, but-
well,
It's
Mr.
just
Chapin.
character. They want to say there's stuff about character, people make complaints. Hear them. I mean, there's no proof.
I do want to just kind of go back on one thing though. The Harbor House deck was mentioned, and I had a couple of council people that had raised that with me. Was that fine waived? And was it because the deck was too close to the road?
Well, no, the BZA allowed him to do that. They gave him a variance.
Okay.
But the fines for the deck was waived. There was no inspections.
But what was the fine for?
No inspections, no building inspection. And we let him open up. That business wasn't handicap accessible.
So it was not
waived.
ADA compliant though?
No, it was not.
And so, normally.
That's true. That's
Is
true.
that what you're gonna ask about, our ADA?
Well, I mean, Rick is on the
Not on
call,
it,
so I just want to make sure Rick is our ADA rep, so I'm just,
That's my point, that's my point. Two people are making decisions.
yeah.
Why are we, the county's losing money? All these contractors are paying their.
Oh, no, we want to collect fines on the council. We're
Oh, yeah.
we're not saying that we don't want to collect fines. This was the first we heard of this, so.
I can interject on some of the Harbor House. If anybody wants to hear it.
Yeah. Sure.
And I don't know what went on in the annex building. I wasn't involved in that. But Bill Price, myself, Terry, I think you were out there. He wanted to open up this is the most accurate in my mind's eye, okay? I didn't record anything or didn't take any notes. But to get him opened up in a hurry, I believe Bill Price, myself, who else? You were there, yes. Commissioner Cavender was there. I was there. Terry was there. And we were in agreement that his deck was too close to the county road. And we made a decision that if he was inspected, which I believe he was, that day or after that or past, if you didn't see anything that was in violation. Correct me if I'm wrong, Terry, because you were there and Brian.
I never inspected.
But if we didn't see anything in violation, he could open up, but the deck itself, he could not use, and he had to apply for a variance. That's what I remember of that day.
And he did use the COVID to say that's the reason he couldn't get into the office to get a permit. They did come in and pay for his permit that day when we did all of this.
But there was no permit before he built the deck?
Nope.
No.
So if I build something in my house and I don't have a permit, they're gonna make me tear it down.
That's right.
Say that the COVID deal is going on.
Well, that deck has to be, get a design release from the state of Indiana, which I made him do that finally. But he come into Bill's office, everybody was there, and he didn't come in, but he called everybody.
When you say Bill, you mean Bill Crace?
Bill Crace, Mr. Crace, yes. All right, and he said all these things, called every one of you guys, okay? And then Pam come in with the emails that he was totally wrong, he was lying about all that stuff. Had it black and white, that all that he said that we've closed, we couldn't get in there and everything, and told dates, and Pam had where they
Pam
emailed her
said
girlfriend and
the
that,
owner of the Harbor House
Yes.
was lying, okay?
you know, and,
So in this case, the board didn't even recognize Pam's feedback about that then, is what you're saying?
it was never brought before board.
Hey, Dave.
I'm aware of that, to the best of my knowledge.
No, you weren't in Bill's office.
Go ahead, Bill.
Hey, Dave. The reason we were in my office is Paula was off that day, and actually Commissioner Cavender had contacted me, and I couldn't go over there. I didn't have anybody to answer the phone. So we did meet in my office and we talked about it. Mr. whatever his name is over there at the Harbor House, he did have to have a special meets permit. Terry's right. The deck was too close to the road. The rest of that stuff was all during COVID time, which this is not the only building situation we ran into during COVID time that we had to work through. Terry,
But there's one glaring thing here though, Bill, is that I think on the county side, I mean, I feel like it's discrimination if it was non-ADA compliant. I'd like to ask Rick who's on the call. Rick, were you notified by Bill or any of the others that were involved in approving this deck at the Harbor House and waiving the fines that, they were gonna open without ADA.
Actually, I'm not responsible for that. As county ADA coordinator, I'm responsible for county buildings and county right-of-way. Anything outside of that is the planning department. So I have no authority over that at all.
So I'm gonna go back to you, Roger. Is that normal for your board to approve a business that is non-ADA compliant?
Is it normal to approve a business that's non-ADA compliant?
Yeah, I think that's.
I don't think it ever came in front of the board about that.
But wasn't Terry your representative at the time and he reported to you that the deck was non-ADA? I'm just trying to understand this.
They were still working on the deck. They almost had it done. They were not quite done.
And when it was done, but
Was
would
that
it be
Memorial
ADA
Day they were
compliant,
trying
right?
to open up for? I can't remember. Or July,
Yeah,
4th of July.
They was trying to open for Memorial Day.
And
What I
they were
remember,
almost done.
what I remember about the situation, Brian, you and me and Terry and Bill were there, and they used the COVID deal that he couldn't get inspected. And you and me and Terry and Bill walked through the restaurant, complete walkthrough, kitchen and everything.
I wasn't there for that.
Okay, Bill and Terry, I know I walked with Terry and the best, now this, I'm not gonna swear to this, but to the best of my recollection, that the building itself inside, nothing was found in compliance.
Yeah, from what I.
Am I right, Terry?
You mean
Non-compliant. Nothing was found non-compliant. And he agreed to come in that day and pay for his permits. I believe. And he said he would come in and pay for his permits that day. And he was instructed by us and Terry that he could not use that deck until the variance was passed. I think I'm being as honest as I could be. Am I right, Terry? Am I right, Bill?
Yeah, you're right, because the reason we didn't do anything on that deck is where it was too close to the road. It called for a special needs permit.
Right, you and I measured that, and I think.
Yeah, it doesn't go in front of our board. It goes in front of the BZA for the special
Right.
needs permit. That's why we didn't have anything to do with the deck. And we
Right.
did state that he couldn't use that deck.
Right.
But if he was granted a variance, is that what happened? He was granted a variance by the BZA? Okay, so, I think that we've heard, did we hear from you, sir? Were you here for that business also?
I'm just here to listen. I'm a contractor.
Did you want to say anything though for or against or just to listen?
Nothing against anybody. I'd like.
Just here to listen,
I'm just
okay.
here for education.
All right, I just wanted to
But
see if.
the conditions that he could open that weekend was that he came in and paid his permit fees.
Did he do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he paid it because when he came in, him and Terry had a pretty harsh argument and we had to actually get security up there.
So I think we've heard all the testimony, so I think we can skip it.
Surveyor, it knows on the plan. I don't have a problem. Wouldn't they go to the director and have the stuff done? Why would the surveyor get involved?
Yeah, I think that the question is why is the surveyor doing so much of the bidding work for the board? I think that's a good question. Probably though would be directed from the commissioners if they want to ask that because it's their authority. Personally, I think at least from the council side, I think, we would expect something different if our board had authority over that. I mean, but and then one last thing, and then we'll have everybody vacate the, or well, I'm sorry, we'll do the sectors and then we'll vacate.
No. Mr. Jessica,
Yes.
somebody operated us.
Survey state.
He didn't know he had to be registered.
The survey state.
I saw you had to wear a mask.
What's that?
Yeah, that,
but I swear, I didn't know it was.
I'll pay it, I'll pay double, I don't.
What's that? Well, I don't think Mr. Okay, but I don't think Mr. Chesak, like, that can be dealt with by the office, because we're actually not here to, we're not here to get that business. You know, so let's leave that. And so I'm gonna close the public, part, and then let's go to the commissioners. Let's let you take over for a second and decide if you're gonna move on this and in what way, and then we'll decide. But
I've got one
That's what they have to
question.
decide.
But I believe we should at least, if people are gonna leave, let's at least have Terry stay, I think, right? So he at least knows what's going on. I don't think we're kicking anybody out, but if you wanna leave, you can leave now. But as soon as we're done moving on, then we're gonna have to ask everybody.
Right.
Well,
Unless you want to know about buildings.
Okay.
okay,
So my question,
go ahead.
given all of this, before I took office, you guys have instituted a hiring freeze. Is that still in effect?
Yes.
The hiring freeze, Mark, is for creating new jobs.
positions.
Right.
Yes.
You're right.
So given that, I'll make a motion that we deny the planning commission's request to make these changes to the titles and job descriptions.
I second it.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Secondly, I move to reinstate, cancel the administrative leave on Mr. Stevenson and reinstate him to his position.
Back pay.
Wait,
Can I suggest something, which isn't, I don't think it's contrary to that, but I would suggest that if you want to do that, you would say that you've taken what he's argued today as an appeal and that you would move to grant the appeal.
So
You see what I'm saying?
I'll modify my motion to conform with council's advice.
And is he reinstated as of the 11th, which was the date that said that he was
As of the 11th.
terminated?
As of, yeah,
Today.
January 11th?
He was removed on the 11th.
It should be on the 11th.
yeah.
Should be right back.
If he had any lost pay between whenever the suspension started and now, yeah.
You should, yes.
That was your motion? Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
What are you eyeing for over here?
Hey, do you want to go sit by Charlie?
Okay, so there's
So we don't have to do
there's no
anything.
business of the council on
That
that,
moots your
so
question.
politely, I would just like to ask whoever was here for that, we'd like to vacate, just because originally this was on the door posted as a Zoom meeting. And
Thanks, guys.
thank you. Thank you.
Yay!
Thanks for the way you handled it. It's great.
About time you left.
See you next time.
I only come in when there's a problem.
So let's just go ahead and go in order then, and look at the council appointments. We've already done the attorney and.
Yes.
Well, economic development is the first one. Currently, that's Brad and Kay. Usually what we do is we just ask first if they even want to stay on.
Here's the thing, with the new contract that they sent out, they only want one of us.
Right.
Well,
But
I'm
we have
sorry,
approved that
we have a contract with them through March, so we do have to.
Yes. And we also.
I think we both need to,
contract.
if you still want to stay, because we still have a contract that says 2 until March. Did you guys appoint 2?
Yeah, yep.
So,
Well, we haven't.
Yeah, we did,
Yeah.
myself and Brian still.
Yeah.
okay. Yeah,
You don't want him to stay?
I will do.
We have Brad and Kay wanting to remain on that board. Does anybody have anything against that?
For the term of the contract.
Does somebody want to make a joint
For the-
motion
I'll make a motion, they both stay on the board.
for the term of the contract?
Yep.
Okay, is there a second? Have a second from Kay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposed? All in favor?
Yes,
Who was the first?
me and Kay. Same.
No, the motion.
Oh, Don.
Which Don?
Oh, sorry, Don Binkley.
I made
Gonna
a
have to
motion.
use the last name now.
And a second from Kay.
Thank you.
Kay has said that she does not want to remain on the Curb C board. Curb C is, deals with a lot of the, like grants and stuff in the county. how often are you guys meeting these days? Is it by Zoom or in person or how are they?
4 times a year.
4 times a year by Zoom?
I have gone down there before.
Nobody else.
Yeah. It was my first board that I took. I mean, I can see why you would want to change up. And it is a drive. Is it still in Monon when it's in person?
Yes.
It's in Monon. Is there somebody else that would be interested in representing us on that board?
Not it.
If nobody absolutely wants to do it, you're on it, Brian, right? I mean,
You guys could ride together maybe?
I would do it.
Would somebody like to make a motion for Mr.
I'll make a
Linebaugh?
motion, we appoint Todd Linebaugh to the Curbsy board.
We have a motion from Brad. Is there a second?
I need you guys to sign that.
I'll second it.
I think Don beat you, Howard.
That's
sorry.
good.
That's for,
So,
I need you guys to sign
all
that.
those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Is there any opposed? All in favor for Todd? Yes, you can. Okay, the planning commission currently is Howard. After tonight, I don't know if you still, but Howard, how do you feel about staying, or would you like to change things up, or?
Well, I've got a little bit of mixed emotions about the whole situation of things. I think I was misled on a few different things, on both sides. I see both people. I've heard some things. I see both sides' points, and I agree with both sides' points. I believe in compromise. I will stay on the board at the council's will, but I think it basically, the authority of the council, of the planning commission, we need to sit down with the commissioners and go over exactly what the planning commission authority is and what it is not. And if we can do that, and it's the council's will, I will sit on the board, but if the council feels I am not a good fit for the
I'll make a
board.
motion, Mark sits on the board,
Howard.
or Howard, sorry.
If the council feels I'm not fit for the board, I'll understand.
We have a motion and a second. Is there a second?
Who was the second?
We haven't.
We haven't had a second yet. Is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, we have a second from Todd. Now, for further discussion, Howard, you do an excellent job. And so I think you raised a good point, though, and hopefully you can charge some of this from, at least from the council side.
My point is, I want to meet, I would like the commissioners to come to a planning commission meeting. And we sit down, all of us sit down and say, okay, here's what you're in charge of, here's what we're in charge of, and
You could advertise.
and do it the right way.
It sounds like some guidance
can all
needs
go
to
if
be
they're not
there.
making any decisions.
I think even Roger said himself that it was like,
You shouldn't
he
advertise.
said there was a
if you don't
lot
have to
of,
worry about it.
Yeah.
because
Otherwise, somebody
don't.
somebody.
we came very close to being on the wrong side of the open door
That's the
law.
trouble.
Right.
Somebody would say, and so the best thing is, the best practice is just
Yeah.
go ahead and advertise.
okay, so a motion, a second, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Is there any opposed? All in favor, that was for the planning commission appointment for Howard. So the Board of Zoning, it lists that we have a Democrat appointment there, that's Mark Allen. Do we have a letter from Mark or anybody
Yes.
else?
He told me he was sending one.
Yeah, there's one tomorrow.
And does the letter say he wants to continue, or does it say he wants to?
He wants to continue. Make a motion, we reappoint Mark Allen as our appointment to the Board of Zoning.
There's a motion from Brad to reappoint Mr. Allen. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Kay. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And is there anybody that opposes? On the library board, we have an appointment, which I believe though was, I believe the commissioners had a Republican appointment, we had a Democrat appointment, if I was.
I don't think the library
I think
board
that's
is.
nonpartisan.
It is, it's not, okay. Do we have anybody that?
Just-
Well, right here, it's.
I'm asking Brad and looking at you because
Yeah, we got
he's looking through the stack.
Justice,
I signed here.
Justice
You'll
Edwards.
sign.
Justice Edgell, is Justice Edgell the only person?
Johnny, you can
Yes,
sign.
that's all I've got.
We have one letter from Justice Edgell. And
Yeah,
it's-
we got one from her and one from someone else. So if you guys appoint Justice, we'll appoint the other. I think.
I make a motion, we appoint Justice Edgel to the library board.
We have a motion from Brad to appoint Justice Edgel.
I'll second it.
Yeah, is there a second? And then just for discussion, though, just so everybody knows, that person will be replacing Gail Smith. A motion and a second have been tallied. All those in favor, please say aye. Is there any opposed? Okay, then we're on the Alcoholic Beverage Board. In the past, I know Penny Wallace had wanted to retain that seat. We have a letter from Mr. Wallace.
Yep, now I'll make a motion we retain Kenny as the appointment to the Alcoholic Beverage Board.
We have a motion to retain Kenny. Is there a second? Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Okay, now, on the Peterboa, that board is a council, that person's a council appointment. Do we have the required?
No,
I can't be on it, right, Marty?
Right.
I can go
No,
on.
you cannot, because that would be too lucrative
termed out.
offices, right? Yeah,
they get
lucrative
paid.
is very broadly.
Can he waive his pay?
No.
Sometimes you can on board.
No, you
right?
can't though, you can't,
You
you
would
can't.
do it.
No.
So, but does that require any special qualifications? And if so,
Not for your appointment. The
do we
commissioners,
have,
the commissioners
That's the
have,
citizen one.
yes.
do we have a letter from a citizen that
No.
is asking to be on that board?
What-
Does that, so nobody could sit on the council, from the council could sit on the board either?
It's too, you get paid.
Yeah, see, it would be too, it's
yeah.
a complicated thing, but no, the answer is no, you
Right.
can't.
Okay, so we're gonna have to re-advertise basically and see if we can get somebody on the Peterbilt.
They don't have to have any qualifications in this case. I mean, they got to,
Just have to
I
be a
shouldn't say
Democrat.
that. They got to be a citizen.
And a Democrat,
Is,
is that, that's it.
is the other woman, Marty, that was on the council from Fulton County? Is she
Yeah,
take
that's
my
the thing.
place? But is she
No,
taking-
she's the one that, she has the level 2.
Yeah, she's the one that.
She's like the consultant.
Yeah, but.
She's who we
but who
appointed.
appointed her? That's, the council must have appointed her.
We did.
right?
We appointed her because we couldn't get anybody with that
Yeah.
level 2 or
Whatever
whatever.
happened to her, she just didn't want to do it.
The commissioners have 2 appointments to make for, she's with their appointments because she has a
Okay.
level.
Maybe we want to use
So
her.
they
Fine,
appointed me.
use that. What's their name?
No, they appointed me.
Right, 'cause there's an R and a D then for you guys, so
Yes.
we'll just we'll re-advertise for ours. Or ask, let's see if you can talk to your
But did she-
constituents and
she's
see if,
looking at
you know,
doing it,
if you
right?
can encourage
Yeah, they
somebody.
have a letter from her.
Are
Yeah.
both of hers Democrat or Republican? There's,
I do know somebody that expressed interest in me. I'm
Sorry?
gonna tell them to send a letter,
what are the? are those from
When does
opposite
Peterbola
parties?
meet next?
A DNR, they.
probably,
They do.
probably June, May.
Okay, so we have enough time.
I
If we
just
do it
wanna
on
make sure
the
the ones
next
that
meeting,
take
okay,
it.
that's joint meeting.
Probably just-
Okay.
It could be 2 hours. on a
It could be 2 hours in a D also.
I just
to be
wanted to
clear.
make sure.
On the park
That the
board, I
ones that
believe
they have
the
are
Republican appointment
not
is
both
with
the
the
same.
commissioners, the Democrat is with ours. Do we have a letter from
We have
Rose?
a bunch of them.
You have,
Do we have from anybody?
you have a bunch of them.
We have a bunch, okay.
I know we don't have a letter from Rosie, but she did express interest in me, to be honest, and she was one of the original park board members. Let's work.
But it has to be a Democrat though. And I-
That's how she was appointed, I believe.
I got
Across,
a,
right?
I got a request from, I'm sure he sent a letter. Bob Sims had talked to me and through email, and Carl Swihart is very interested in that too.
Yeah, so you have Carl Swihart, Don
Carl
Porter,
is a Democrat for sure.
and
Right.
Mary Perrin.
But isn't this party affiliated?
Is Don Republican?
I believe Dawn's a Republican. Maybe she didn't know that.
Park
it
board
was
is-
parks, But I think you have a Republican appointment from the commission for the park
I think
board.
we do, yeah.
So I think the letter might be more useful for them, for Dawn.
And I don't know about Mary,
Mary's, I don't know about Mary.
but I know,
I think she's-
Mary's
Carl.
a Democrat.
isn't that kind of?
So is it all right if we give you guys Dawn's letter?
Yeah,
then?
that's,
Because-
yeah.
Yes,
Since they're both in the same office,
yeah,
it's kind of a conflict, isn't it?
Mary.
With Mary and Rick, because they're both in the same office, both on the same board.
On the park board?
Well, let me do this. Does anybody want to make a motion
I'll make a
for
motion
any
for
of these?
Carl.
We have a motion from Brad for Carl,
I'll second that.
and we have a second. Since there are multiple, well, since Mary's here also, was anybody going to make a motion for Mary? And then we'll do a runoff on the vote, otherwise we'll proceed with the motion in a second. Hearing none, then we will proceed with the nomination for Carl. Have a motion from Brad. Is there, and I have a second from, I believe, Don.
Howard.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Okay, Marshall Stark, I have not turned out on that, but it's been a very rewarding role for me on that board. If you don't know what Marshall Stark is, but people that are have different types of handicaps, they help them, either transportation, or they have houses that they live in. They also work with pre-K education and things like that. It's a wonderful organization. But it's been that great for me that if somebody else wants to do it, I'm open. We meet at lunchtime, which is great. They always buy lunch, and it's once a month. So again, if somebody else would like to give that a try to try to board, I'm perfectly okay if you want to express interest, or I'll stay.
I can't do the middle of the day, so.
I nominate Dave.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to retain myself. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed?
We know you need the food.
Usually pretty good food. They usually either,
Rachel
they have the
cooking
consumers
breakfast.
actually make the food, which is a lot of fun, and then they come in, so.
I'm waiting on my biscuits and gravy.
Okay, so I think that is the sum of our
Could have
appointments.
got the stuff at Walmart the other day.
Did everybody sign the courtesy of certification? Did you pass it down?
He did.
I think.
There it is.
Since we're in joint meeting, I'm just gonna ask the commissioners, do you want to run through your appointments real fast, or would you rather wait? Because it's not on
This is gonna
yours.
take forever.
Yeah, just wait, or
Okay.
we'll wait till you guys.
Well, don't let Rachel sway you like
Well,
that. You're actually the highest official in the county, so you can slam her if you want to.
Recall all of us.
I know at least one of your members wants to get out of
Okay,
here
so we've got the
relatively soon.
The Stark County Economic Development Foundation contract was the next discussion. I discussed a few things like I thought I'd like to see is only a year, some changes in the wording. I don't believe that we've actually gotten a revised contract from them as far as like what their board took our input. So I don't know if we want to table the contract part, but speak about the financial part.
Did you guys budget a particular amount for them for this year?
Yes. So 151.
It's like 157.
157. I think it was 157.
So that was last year's amount?
No, last year.
That's for 2021.
2021.
Okay.
But it's up to the Board of Commissioners if they want to renew the contract.
Yeah.
Does that?
It has been 180.
What about, is there a payment on on the existing contract as part of that budget? Just to throw that out there.
They got it all.
They got it all. They
In
got it all.
2020, right?
Okay.
They're
The question
paid up.
was any portion of this year's on the existing contract, which actually is still in,
Right.
executory.
Mr. Miller? I think that as far, I'm sorry, I forgot you wanted to get home. I think we're okay now. if that's all right with you.
I want to get home.
So I'm sorry, where are we?
So.
Why are you looking at me?
Well, the question was, do we owe the Economic Development Foundation?
No, it's per year. We paid them last
Right,
year.
just we wanted to- Marty was-
But the contract's not
Thanks, Kate.
up until March.
Right.
So
So I understand why you're asking the same thing.
I think we have two
Not all
things
about
going
you.
on. The commissioners obviously have the authority on the contract and would vote on that, then but we would also vote on the money side of it, so.
You can't go into a contract for 5.5 years.
Do we
when
want
the
to
term's only 4 years?
I think I'll pass that to you first to see if.
Oh, whoa.
Because you're entering into a
You don't
contract,
have to, you don't have to tell, you don't have to convince me.
right?
I mean, I would advise you.
I don't know if
But,
we're-
the one thing about this contract, and I was talking about the
Exactly.
I would go on 3 years. There's one, and it's just, but 5 is excessive. I wouldn't do this. I think it's bad policy. It's not illegal. It's probably bad policy because it shouldn't exceed the terms of the collective
Right.
officers.
Just got their cell phone on and their computer.
Dave?
Hey. Yeah, we see you now.
Okay, hey, a couple of things. I did get a response when I sent out a draft from Dave Pearman. and I really appreciate that. I have not gotten a response from anybody else. I have actually, we need to talk with the commissioners, and I have not had an opportunity to do that. I've reached out a couple of times and was told to discuss it in the meeting today. So that's why we're here, and if this is where it needs to be discussed. Yeah, I didn't know if it would make more sense to, for the commissioners to talk about it, to go over it, and set up maybe a committee meeting to talk about it outside of a public meeting, or if there might be a better way to kind of review it and that kind of thing. But we have been paid through the end of the contract, which is March 1st. So there's no money owed to us on the current contract that expires on March 1st.
So kind of there's a time window. So Lisa, I just have a question though. Has I know your executive board has seen this. Has your board approved the contract that you submitted? Because that would also make a difference on what the commissioners are going to take as a recommendation.
We have, well, we just sent it out as a draft. So it would, I mean, we have a board meeting on Monday, the 25th, which is next Monday. So I mean,
there's time though for the commissioners really, because I feel like you've just been thrown this and I still probably need some more time. But my question to Marty is, since the council though has the authority on the payment, I believe we could act on that in terms of
At least give our opinion.
Yeah, you can at least give an opinion. I mean, I think that's kind of what it's down to. You coordinate, because obviously it has both fiscal impact and contractual impact. They have to approve the contract in the end, but it's got to be funded too, doesn't it?
yes. So
Right.
that would help
So there
them
you
know in their work, because their next meeting is obviously not a joint meeting. So I feel like there's two pieces to that. There's the Economic Development Foundation then, and then what we've also discussed before is payment to the skill. Now, if it's all right with the commissioners, we'll move back over to the council for a second. And Mr. Pressel had contacted me and he wanted to come and say a few words about the skill.
Thank you. I've learned a lot tonight.
I'm sorry, by the way.
No, that's okay. So I've learned there's a lot of confusion before I jump into skill about what takes place with advisory boards and how that works and how hard that is to find in statute. So I'm going to make that a mission this year.
Please.
Figure that out. Because it's very confusing for everybody involved, right? And maybe this does need a legislative fix.
Sir, and if I could suggest we can do that, one thing that I think would be really nice is if you actually split the advisory and the area statutes into separate sections so that they're not all mixed together. It makes it really hard to read the law in that area, and that's just, a practical point, I guess.
Oh, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. We do a lot of kind of trying to debunk what was done 40 years ago. And a lot of these statutes existed forever, right? So they're all kind of commingled. It's a mess. So that's number one that I learned. So thanks for bringing that to my attention. And you guys cleared the room pretty doggone quick, so the commissioners acted fast. I missed that part, just about to make a phone call. So what I really came down tonight for is not as the state representative. So I want to make that clear. One of the rules that I adopted for myself 4 years ago when I started doing this was stay in your lane, do your job, right? Don't try and tell somebody else what to do as an elected official. So I am not doing that, right? But what I want to talk to you about is skill set. And I want to talk about the educational opportunities that those programs have and how much we need those. So I know there's a big discussion going on. I don't want to be part of that big discussion. I'm a farm kid. I graduated just barely from high school. And if it wasn't for programs like what the Skill Center does and vocational training, I have no idea what I'd be doing today. I probably would have never gotten through high school. So they're a huge impact, and especially in rural communities, to keep those things going. It's a good driver to have an employable community. That's supposed to bring business, whether it's working here or not. That's another discussion. But the opportunities that places like the Skill Center provides for this community And the partnership that the Skill Center does through 2 other counties is huge. So I don't know if you know this or not, but the Skill Center is the only co-op in the state of Indiana.
Yes.
And that's a big deal, and especially for our areas, because we can't afford to put up one big center like LaPorte has done way up in Michigan City. And another discussion that I won't get into is how do my kids from lacrosse get clear to Michigan City? That stinks. It really does, because those kids aren't taking that opportunity. So I just want to impress the importance of what that does for you guys, what it does for your community, that partnership that it builds. And to only have little bits and pieces of it here, but the kids have an opportunity to go somewhere else and pick up on additional training, I think is huge. So I'd hate to let that go by the wayside. So I hope there's a way that you can figure out, even if it's unwinding skill from economic development, whatever you all decide, because I'm gonna stay in my lane. But I do want to impress the importance of that, and also mention up after hours, the way they're able to actually train adult classes. So that's a big thing for the community also. So with that, unless you've got legislative questions.
I have a legislative question for you, Mr. Pressel. So today I found out something that was very alarming to me. What I learned was that our county seat school, Knox Community School, does not have an ag program, and that's our primary business in Stark County. That frustrates me. I don't know about North Judson. Maybe someone knows that North Judson has it.
I don't know exactly what they have anymore there.
But what really frustrates me is that we have an ag program over at Oregon Davis. And my question will be, hopefully Knox and North Judson kids are offered that opportunity, because that really, really frustrates me. And, I would think hopefully too, like maybe Skill could, we've asked many times for Skill to get more involved in ag type related, skills, because that's what we do here. Sure. Please.
I absolutely agree with you. My daughter has a degree in agriculture from Purdue, and she was very involved, as some of you guys know, in agriculture and 4-H and raising livestock, showing livestock, and I think she graduated in 15, 16, maybe. She graduated in 13. I take that back. My point being is Knox High School did not allow agriculture, which was one of what was her love of life. So when she got her driver's license, and it was very inconvenient, I worried it was a safety hazard. She drove part-time to take agriculture classes at North Judson and part-time in other semesters at Oregon Davis. So she was not denied the opportunity to study agriculture in high school, but it was an inconvenience for her when you take a 16-year-old girl and put her in a truck on icy roads in the winter and send her to North Judson and OD. I was like this the whole time. But yes, I agree. Knox High School needs to bring back an agriculture.
And so this is what I think, even further though.
Can I comment? This is the superintendent at Knox, Bill Reichart.
Sure.
I just want to comment that we are currently meeting with an ag teacher from John Glenn, and Knox plans on starting an ag program no later than next year.
That's a great thing. Thank you, sir.
Yes,
You're
thank
welcome.
you. So what I was going to say though further than that is this legislation, public schools in Indiana to embrace blue collar training. This was something that was brought up a couple of years ago by the federal government. COVID came, a lot of things haven't happened with it. But for our community, it's extremely important that these people get this training, because that's the problem. You mentioned that, employment problems. We can't get people to come to Stark County because we don't have skilled people. We don't have high school education. So, I think if you could help us force the public schools to get more involved, because I think that as combined boards, our issue has always been, why, though in Stark County, does the county government have to be involved in education? But now I'll throw another thing personally where I feel is cutting skill off, cold turkey. I think that they've raised enough point to us that that's going to be difficult, that they need some time to be able to do that. So my personal thought would be, since there's going to be a big reduction because 2 highly paid people are going to be leaving the economic development program, and some jobs are combined, things like that.
Well,
Is there an opportunity to still fund the skill with a portion of what we are discussing here? and then a portion of that to the Economic Development Foundation. And think about carrying forward. There's a lot of change that's gone on in the Economic Development Foundation. Give both of them a year for the skill center to find their funding. You know, I'm gonna bring Kathy Norton because she said so many times, raise tuition, get the school. She said many times, and also these commissioners too, said, get the school more involved, you know, find the money. You know, that way people from Knox don't have to travel, like Mr. Pressel brought, we've heard that before. But I think from the council side, and I'll defer to you as well, but I think there might be an opportunity for a way to look at both of those. And that there's an expiration on both though, that in 1 year, skill knows you're not gonna get county money, get the money from somewhere else, the next one, and then the Economic Development Foundation, did it work or not? Whatever you propose in your ultimate contract to the commission, the commissioners can decide and say, hey, this worked or not. And then that's also an opportunity to say, you need more money, can you live with less money? You know, and then we can rebuild the thing. If not, we can think of another mechanism and go another route. But I mean, just to make a snap decision like that for economic development too, I think we might be shooting ourselves in the foot, you know, just to.
And the contracts are two different contracts.
No.
Yeah.
No, we
Two
didn't fund
separate contracts or?
The Economic Development Foundation contract does not have anything to do with how we fund skill.
That's right. That's what I
Skill contract.
In fact,
180 don't.
In fact, the consultants at the commissioners, over.
We don't have a separate.
But I mean, dollar wise, I think.
Lisa, we
good
can hear
recommendation
you
for
if
council
you're
would be
trying to say something.
Something like that.
And
I have you on mute.
we've talked in the past about skills. I don't
It's
think there's
180.
any of us here that
They
are
want to
against
cut it to
skill at all.
157.
And I understand that the schools are paying per student. what
Well,
goes.
that's skill.
But one of our concerns has been,
Separately. Yes.
I understand Stark County in the past has been paying $80,000 a year to promote skill, but all the other counties that are using skill have not contributed a dime.
Yes, they have.
For certain things, but
For certain
I think, but
Yes,
going
they
back to
have.
I like, you don't want to open that again, but
Well,
we don't.
let's not open that
Right.
again. But my point is, I understand, Don, that they have,
Yes.
but
Okay,
not as much as we have by
No.
our $80,000 dump every year.
No. But listen, the skill is one of the shining stars that this county had.
But I don't think Howard's
agree.
denying that.
Nobody's denying.
The council,
Well,
let's let Lisa, let's. let
They're
Lisa-
wanting to cut the funding. Well, when you cut that funding, it's gone.
Can I just say one thing about the funding? Every school corporation that sends a student to a skill program in Stark County pays the same tuition as every Stark County school pays for their students' tuition. So while they're not paying extra, they're paying the same amount as every Stark County school for every student that they send from their school corporations, whether they're coming from LaVille or Triton or Plymouth or Culver. They all pay tuition for every student. So they are contributing.
I don't think Howard's disputing,
No,
there's a
I
lot of
understand.
overhead.
I'm not disputing that.
There's a lot of things involved, but regardless of that, I don't.
But is their county paying?
But, right,
Yeah,
my
right,
point
that's-
is.
yes.
The question, I guess, is, Lisa,
Four counties.
is their county paying anything?
Right. If there's 4 counties going, how come we're not each paying $20,000 apiece?
Right. So, and for an example, there are programs in Plymouth schools. Now, they don't get direct funding from the county, but the schools actually pay for, help me out, Ron, if I'm right or wrong here, for an instructor, they pay to house the programs in their schools. So, I mean, Marshall County, in an indirect way, is contributing more than just tuition.
Can I jump in? This is Bill again.
I think they get some philanthropy money.
Hi, Bill.
Marshall County.
Hey, I just want to say that Marshall County has LNN is what they call it, which is the equivalent there. And that organization funds the Marshall County, the Plymouth thing. So for instance, we host at Knox a health science class, and Marshall County LNN furnishes an instructor that we pay tuition as well as all the other schools do to Marshall County LNN for the expense of that instructor, and they are instructing our students right at Knox High School. I don't know if you're aware of that. The other thing I'll say, and then I'll shut up, is I think you can't forget that you also have the adult services component to skill, which is more than just the K to 12 or the 9 to 12 population. And I can tell you that from the state right now, we will channel more kids than ever into the CTE programs. The problem we have is that we have limited seats. And we as a school district, we realize the importance, and we will, if we are pressed and if the funding goes away, we are not going to let this program drop. It's necessary. But at the same time, this is a great community partnership, and it also supports the adults who, instead of being in jail, perhaps they could get a welding program so they can get that second career or a first career for that matter. So thanks. I just wanted to bring those points up. Thank you.
And I think it also speaks to the thing that small communities, like, and you and I have had a lot of discussions about small community shortcomings, and, you know, Marty's, you know, been involved in some of those other things that we're talking about, pension, you know, like so many things where it's hard for small communities. So I think collectively we're all agreeing that we need some legislation to help small communities with these things, but the school is saying that they could be more politically involved in the future too. So I think short term, to cut, but their budget's already gone, you know what I mean? So we couldn't cut them off. So I think a hybrid possibility recommendation from the council could be to
He's like
fund
this all the time.
part of both.
So let me throw this out there too. So as you talk about CTE stuff, and Bill touched on it just a little bit. So there are a lot of incentives from the state on CTE, but I think you heard Bill say, or what I picked up on, and hopefully I understood him correctly, they can put more kids in those seats for career and technical education if they had seats available. So what that really means is an expansion of these programs like Skill to get more kids into that. It's not a lack of, we're not doing enough. So I think the state pays an additional $2,800, give or take, for every career technical education student, right? That's on top of the APM count. So dollars are there, and it's up to local school corporations to try and get those kids into those programs. But if the program doesn't exist or is expanded enough, the opportunity isn't there.
This
right?
is exactly why the
Did I get
government
that
wants
right,
to get
Bill?
out of education. We don't belong there.
Bill, did I get that right?
Sorry, yes, you did, Jim. That's exactly right. So I apologize. I'm watching our girls' basketball game. We're playing #1 Penn, and we're tied with 2 minutes to go.
That's all I wanted to know.
I'm trying to balance my responsibilities tonight, guys.
So to wrap up my portion of it, and I can go back to being the legislator. So career and technical education is huge. It is a big thing.
Yes, it is.
You know, 2 years ago, at the last budget cycle, I had $250,000 in the budget as a line item for the additional funds that still needed to make their expansion, right? So they have $750,000 of a shovel-ready project.
Yeah.
And when we see the shortfalls coming, you know, I'm small fish in a big pond, and my 250 got full. So again, I'm going to try and get that in as a line item to expand those opportunities to do that, right? So I appreciate you all working with it and realizing the value. And again, I'm trying to stay in my lane. I am not suggesting anything. Y'all do a great job. Willing to help with what.
Well, if you could find the funding, that would be great.
Well, let me ask you
I'm
this.
working on it. I had it once and then it disappeared.
Do you feel like an approach from the county though to possibly fund that for 1 more year with an expiration and tell them, hey, you have to get with the school and get this figured out and with government? And do you think that would be a reasonable, in your eyes, do you think that would be a
at this point, so I know Skill is down about 42 students right now.
Yes.
So if you take those 42 students times 2750, I think that's what Knox contributes. That's a lot of dollars. And if you guys were to remove that funding effective right now, you're going to kill the program this year. It will not finish this year in my mind, and I don't have all the numbers. And it's not going to be available for the 2021 school year start. So I think that would be huge if you could figure out a way to get them over the hump. I am willing to work on funding. I'm willing to approach Ivy Tech. I don't know if there's a partnership there. But I think it's a good community project also. And you know, I get where you're coming from with the dollars, because honestly, the state budget is a big thing this year. It's huge, right? We
Bigger
got a
next
2-year
year.
budget.
Bigger
And
next year.
It's bigger next year for you guys, right? We're seeing the hit this year. You are going to see the hit next year. And it's not going to be pretty. It really is not. So I admire you for every one of you being here, taking this challenge on. And it's a big task. So I appreciate your due diligence, but if you can find a way to continue this at least for a year to give them an opportunity. I
We
think
can't let this.
So we're looking at 157,000. What's our recommendation?
Yes. Have we, I'm new here, so I don't know. I'm not trying to overstep or anything. Do we have a copy of the complete financial statements from the still? All the expenditures and everything?
At this meeting, no. I mean,
No.
usually that's
But we
been
do
on
have.
the executive board. It's more.
Do we have access to that or no?
Currently, I don't think that's
No,
under
not
contract.
skill. No, okay, I'm just wondering.
Right, right, I agree, that's not part of
It's
it.
been asked by the commissioners in the past, but it's.
Years.
Yeah.
That needs to be pulled apart.
So is there any thought of a recommendation from the council? I mean, we have this 157,000 that we have set
Well,
there.
157 is for economic development.
Does it, well, economic development skill could be considered part of that. We could split some of that out.
Did we take the 80 out?
80 was already not funded in the budget. But there's a big reduction coming in that. So.
How bad would it be if we split it then? Half for the skill, half for Stark County.
What does the economic development foundation say about the amount you propose in that either? My question. They don't even know.
Well, this is all contingent upon what they decide.
Right, but we're just making recommendations
But
that
also-
we would fund, otherwise it doesn't.
It's not gonna do us any good to negotiate terms.
Yeah, if we don't
They're not
fund it.
gonna fundraise it either.
So I believe what I.
Well, and it doesn't do any good to negotiate terms when the board from economic development hasn't approved it either.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Just the executive board did. Correct, Don?
That's correct.
I believe, or based on what Don Binkley is saying, does our board agree that we feel that if they wanted to split some of that money up to half of it, is that what you're saying, Don?
For skill.
For skill, and then the rest for economic development foundation, is that our recommendation?
Yep.
Should we make a motion that that's our recommendation, Marty? or-
I think if you wanna make a recommendation, we should do that, yeah. I mean, that's fine, yeah.
Okay, we have a motion from Don.
So you're recommending 78,500.
They
Up
can-
to half, like they.
Up to half, yeah.
So that's close to the 80,000 that we've been providing.
Correct.
That's coming awful close.
Right.
Right.
So by that respect, then that ought to make the skill center happy. I
I have a
mean,
motion. I need a
that's
second.
a couple thousand less than we've been giving him, but that's right up there next to that 80 that they ought to be pleased with. I would certainly think they would be.
Are you making that as a second, so we can open up discussion on that?
Well, yeah, but let's listen to.
Well, first we have to have a second before we can.
I'll second.
Okay, then we have a second, now discussion, and then. we'll
All right,
vote.
I'd like to listen to Lisa. I don't think we hear.
So on the proposed contract that we will have that the foundation look at on Monday, the proposed amount was 180,000 or 12.5% of the seeded funds, which usually ends up being the 180,000, or that's what it's been in the past until this last contract, which was just a fixed amount. So if we're talking about splitting the 180,000, which is the proposed amount for the contract, is that what you're suggesting, or are you suggesting the
Split
number?
the 157.
Your funding last year was 157, not 180.
Correct, but, and that's all been paid. And our contract expires on March 1st. So what I'm saying is what we've proposed in the new contract was 180,000, which is what we used to get up until this last contract, or the 12.5% of the seeded money. So I didn't know if your recommendation was based on the proposed contract or what's currently in place but expires on March 1st.
That would be tail wagging the dog then, but I just want to throw this out there then. Maybe we need to, we can leave your motion if and second. If you decide on 180, then it's up to half. Like we could, you know what I mean? We could leave it there, but I think the council's making the
But
recommendation
where are
of
we gonna,
157.
where are we gonna get the extra money when we only budgeted 157?
Again,
And then-
the commissioners are taking that into consideration. They know our
I think they
recommendation, but
understand.
they will determine the
And
contract.
we're hoping they only do a 1-year contract.
That's true, and the council also was hoping for 1 year on each one, that 1 year expiration on the skill and then 1 year contract. Okay, a motion and a second,
Up to 157.
and I just want to make sure, since, you know, this is, if the commissioners had any more input in that, are we okay with our recommendation on that?
That was good with me.
We're really on the second thing.
I have a motion, a second, I'm taking
We're
into
really
consideration
going on
what
the second
Lisa is
thing.
saying, again, that is going to be a decision that you're gonna make. We're recommending 157, but you'll decide if it's 180, but we're making the recommendation, that's all we have, that's all we budgeted.
Have you guys been out to the
It's not our
skill?
authority, so.
Have you been out
I-
there?
Oh, that's good. I have a motion and a second, all those in favor, aye. Is there any opposed? Motion carries, nobody's opposed. The two other things were the update on the prosecutor and J&K.
She's on it.
I'll just add, Lisa, if the economic development folks could stay on,
On their agenda, that's on your agenda.
Yes.
They have to discuss the contract.
They did.
No, we already agreed that they're gonna table it.
Oh, they're tabling it?
Yes.
Is there a motion table?
Anybody want- Yeah.
Oh, I thought we were gonna talk about it more later.
Or they're
Lisa,
carrying,
let's-
they're carrying it to their meeting.
Yeah,
And they can
let's carry
table
this
it.
to our meeting.
Sorry.
Do that.
Yeah, I know, I thought she was here.
Her face is getting red.
Do you know how many minutes the 2-hour meeting's gonna be? Move it along.
Okay.
I would call on Leslie then.
So, we'll go ahead with Leslie then. I didn't know.
Place me, and I'm gonna appoint Lee Nagai.
So, hopefully Leslie's gonna tell us everything is hunky dory.
I'm going to try to be brief, given how long the minutes are going to be for Rachel to type. She'll probably be typing them for the next 2 weeks. But I just wanted to give you all an update on the prosecutor's office amidst all the COVID stuff. Like every other department, the prosecutor's office is no different in terms of having to navigate the interesting waters that COVID has brought upon us in terms of just life in general. We are currently working through a backlog of cases, all nonviolent cases, mostly drug-related offenses that were not taken into custody and were what we call long-formed by law enforcement throughout the year with the instruction that they need to minimize their interactions with individuals as much as possible. So currently, with the help of the court staff and Judge Hall, we have been working through a backlog of cases that we've had in both circuit court and city court, trying to get them filed and get people moving through the system. Because of COVID and just the uncertainty that the Supreme Court, the uncertainty with the Supreme Court and the fact that we aren't able to do trials, that has obviously made it difficult to move people through the system simply because there's not really an incentive to resolve your criminal cases because there's no trial. And so people are aware, our defendants are aware and their attorneys are aware that it's easier to drag feet. But we have been able to set some things for hearing. We're practicing COVID safety by scheduling people by way of Zoom hearings, and we're minimizing interaction with individuals, and we're starting to get things moving back in the court. So, you know, for the public out there that aren't seeing people being taken to jail or are concerned that things are not being filed, they are. It's just we've had to come up with some creative solutions on how to get people moving through the system. Some of the other difficulties we have been facing is our programming that we have here locally has not been open for counseling services and that sort of thing. So we're kind of dealing with a lot of things beyond our control in terms of how we resolve cases and what type of programming we move people into. But I'm hopeful that as hopefully things start to and continue to improve, that we'll be able to see things open back up and us get back to normal for the most part. I also know that there have been some issues with victims in our cases being turned away because they didn't have appointments. some of the nature of our victims in cases or witnesses in cases, they're used to just stopping by the office. So I'm encouraging the public, if you need someone in the prosecutor's office, where there's always somebody in the office, and for our victims or witnesses in cases that want to meet with somebody in the office, I would just encourage them to call ahead. That way we can let the guards know about appointments, because I understand the guards are operating with their rules. And so I just want to make sure that people know we're there and we're available to meet with them, but it would be better if appointments are made.
And I'll just ask, the media is still on the line, I hope, and hopefully you've got that message from Leslie to the public. That's a very important message from her office. If not, is there anybody on the media or from the media still on the line? Maybe we made it too long.
I think Anita was on the meeting. She sent me a text about something else earlier that was going on, so I think she's still here.
I'm just not seeing her. We'll make sure she gets over there.
She's there, yeah.
Was there anything else from the council or commission for the prosecutor? Thank you, Leslie. I think that there's always an opportunity with public office for confusion with COVID and how different offices are being managed. So thank you for that update.
You're welcome. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you all.
Thank you. I believe, Rachel, you were going to handle the update on the J&K invoice.
Matron Pam McDonald at the Stark County Sheriff's Department, she did work with Four-Way, and I do have a check sitting in my office from Four-Way that I have to receipt in and then pay out to J&K. So that's taken care of.
Excellent. Please thank Pam for us.
Definitely.
And then were you also, who was going to talk about the Okra grant?
Thank you.
Brian.
Okay, working on this, we had a meeting today, and that was with Oakland today, which we've been working with Chaos Purchasing Board also, and they was Boswell, and got some notes here. It's been Rachel and Marty and I have been working with them, and where we started out at, what we're going to do, and where we're at now, it's a $250,000 grant, if that is the max. That's the maximum you get. And here we go. And then what we're wanting to do is work on like either, like a food program, donate some to like our we're gonna do the
Council on
Northern
Aging,
Indiana food.
Northern
Yeah,
Indiana
we're gonna
food
check to see how much that is. Some to that. Some to our food, our own deal over here, and then the other part would be at grocery stores, like Marty was gonna check at North Justin. They got a new food, they got a new supermarket over there now too.
Yes. Brian, could I just stop for a second? Just for the new people, this is about COVID.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure that everybody, it was not.
Is this the one that we need to have things together by the 29th?
Yeah.
For final submission on February 26th?
That's it.
Okay.
And so what we're doing is that, and we're trying to get it to where there may be like, you can get signed up. This would be through Rachel's office. You'll be signed up to get like $100 food box. We will not be delivering it anymore. It will be, you will have.
Could I ask you a question about that, Brian, just real quick, because I know we want to move along, but I observed this, and I know other council did also, that the qualifications really were, the bar was really low, I think, to get to delivering the food before. I mean, some people clearly did not need it.
We're gonna try to watch that.
We have people that are out of work. We have people that are out of work in Stark County. The people that are working like at restaurants and things like that, that rely on tips, they're making nothing. I mean, I know that a lot of the people around me, we're all trying to tip more and things like that, but it's still, I mean, I hope that you're gonna consider some mechanism to make sure that the people that need it get it this time. I know it's hard to do that though. I mean, it's hard to say, okay, well, this person doesn't, but a lot of people we're seeing, benefiting from this, that,
That's just one part of it.
Okay.
Now, you can have two parts to this. That's what they suggested. Don't go more than two things with it, because otherwise you may get thrown out of it altogether. Now, the second part is to help with, are people, they have to be out of the city. They have to be in unincorporated areas. They can't be in incorporated, like, city of Knox or even in North Justin, inside the city limits, you know, incorporated area, we can't really help them, but we can help all these restaurants, and there are quite a few at Bass Lake. You even got some at Coons Lake. You got Country Road, and you got a couple in Sam Pier that we could help. And we were thinking about trying to help them out. It was like we were talking. You know, we're still in the stages of getting that done. We're talking like $10,000 per minute. But they have to retain their help, but it also helps for it, you know, they have to spend the money accordingly also too, like PPE product, you know, stuff, and just taking care of their employees, retaining employees and stuff.
There was a lot going on. I'm not.
There's a lot
You
going
guys
on.
did a great job.
There's a lot. We got to get this
I think
road
we
up.
have more people out of work now though, and it's just like things are even worse. So I just.
One of the key things they want on the small businesses, and like, let's get just a little detail. North Judson and Knox are applying, and for that reason, Stark County can't do anything with a small business that's located in North Judson and Knox. However, Hamlet so far is not applying, and actually Stark County can include Hamlet businesses, even though they're an incorporated area in this program. And the other thing that they were really clear about, I think something you might want to think about or, you know, soon, is they were really clear that they wanted an advisory board that would pass on the applications, and not just, you know, your board, but to select some people. And they said, you know, they suggested, well, I just brought some kind of people that might be involved in the food bank, for example, people that might be involved in other kind of relief efforts, like the community foundation would be a kind of group that might have some knowledge, charities, or Austin Chamber of Commerce. Those are the kind of organizations that we could maybe, you know, need to like find a board to review these applications, because they want to make sure that they're just like you're saying, Dave, that they're going to places that need it, and also that they're going to use it the way Brian was saying, for things like keeping their staff, PPE for their staff. So it's not just, you know, going to the business owner, but it's helping them keep their business staff.
And to your point, I would say too, though, and I'm just asking this personally because I cover part of Hamlet. If you could possibly include Hamlet in that, personally, I'm just asking, you know, as a person, but also representing people that I've, you know, Todd also.
Oh, this
Hamlet could
is
just automatically
possible, definitely.
include that.
The reason that it's on the joint agenda is because you get points if you match. So you guys need to decide if we have up to $25,000 to possibly match to apply for this grant.
Oh, yeah. That part I didn't come up with yet, Dave. We need to,
Why do you always bring that up when you laugh?
well, you know, I got to tell you the good stuff first. But in order to get the max match, we have to do 10%. Now, we don't know for sure if we're going to get the whole 250 or not, or if we're going to get anything.
Where would you take?
But we're going to have a 10% match.
Marty just said that
And
I'd be
that's
able to
up
go
to the
through
council if they're willing to
It's a new year now, so.
I mean, it's
agree
up to
with if they would do that or not.
So
But
Marty
don't we
actually
have
raised a
to
good idea. What if the council
Someplace for us to get.
would
this
consider
in place,
making a recommendation
since
that
they
we
have
find a
that
way to
November
fund it,
29th.
the match?
Technically, you don't have to do.
But
additional
hopefully
appropriations today.
the community foundation will support us, like that type of a
At least part of it.
recommendation, a motion on that. Would that be a good idea?
Sure.
And if they
That
don't
we
support
could-
you.
Or
You,
the part.
you make a formal request.
We just have to say that we'll fund it. We just don't say where from.
With the hopes that though, that we get
Right.
all or some of it from
That's right.
other sources.
Will you do the
But if
whole,
you think that's gonna help your ability to get the grant,
Yeah.
Make a
Yeah,
motion,
we-
we fund it.
without it, yeah.
So-
we have a motion to
I
fund,
second it.
we have a second, is there any further discussion? All those in favor, aye. Is there any opposed?
Thank you.
Motion we adjourn.
I would, one last thing, I would suggest that you also select, you know, that you also find some mechanism for populating this review board. I'm not saying you have to do it now, you can maybe select somebody here, or, you know, that would do that. They were very loose about how, but they needed some kind of review board. And they don't want it just to be you, they want it to be other people out in the community.
5 people.
5 people, so.
I mean, I think maybe one of them could be one of you.
Right now, it's,
table.
right now it's Brian, I think it would be, I think we'd like to have a representation from the council then. Is there somebody that would like to do that?
I will if they do it at night, but if it's during the day, I can't.
Is it day or night, Brian?
We've been doing days, right?
If it's during the day, I can do it. If nobody else can do it during the day, it's up to you guys.
They even mentioned a banker, and I noticed
I'm
that
about to nominate Kate,
Carla
but I don't
did.
know, she has some stuff going on there.
How often do they meet, Brian?
So we just got started. We've only met twice so far, but we gotta meet again, like in the next couple of days in order to get this figured out.
I think the
Exactly
review
what-
board for the
what we're gonna
applications
put
might
down.
actually be able to do it in one meeting, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean,
we
they
need to-
just want, just have a deadline for the applications and they have to pass on them, but because this is sort of separate from the actually making the application, which I think
Yeah, we
maybe
just
we
gotta
can
give-
handle
gotta
that.
give
but we
Edwin
need to be
time
able to
to
say who's going to be on this
this all
review
wrote up.
board. You see
So
what
you're
I'm saying?
suggesting that the other 3 people should be for the community, or could it be?
Yeah, I would suggest
Rachel be one of the
that,
people?
no, I don't think, I think they were clear, they wanted like, maybe a local banker or somebody, from the Chamber of Commerce or something like that, right?
So you can handle that, Brian, right? But who on the council?
Would like, to have- Donnie said he.
That's right, we don't have.
Well, Donnie can't do it. I can possibly do it today.
5 or however many. We don't have to say who they are.
Okay, Howard, do you think about it? If Howard, you can't do it, I'll do it. How's that?
My schedule's so.
You don't have to necessarily select
Brian, I'll do
everybody.
it, Brian.
Yeah.
Okay, it's only gonna, it's only gonna be about a month.
I know.
They did recommend possibly a banker, and I noticed
Right.
that Carla Mutual's on there. I don't wonder if she'd be interested.
And so Brian, you're gonna take care of getting the other people. I think. Marty said
Yeah, you
Chamber of
don't have to
Commerce.
have them now, we just need to
Yeah.
have a
We'll take
practical
care
way
of
of getting that
Let
done.
me know when it is. I'll represent the council.
I was just kind of hinting at her right now while I got her here.
Is there any other business coming before the council today?
Hello, right here.
Okay.
All current members and new members, if you want to use tablets, you can get them from Richard. So we do have tablets that you can take home and you can use for council or commissioner use. So see Richard if you want a tablet.
I prefer you guys use them at home.
Are these the same ones we had before?
Yes, they're the same ones. If you want new ones, give me money and I'll buy new ones.
Yeah, no thanks.
Could you just bring them as a set to the next meeting?
I
I
can.
think everybody should, we should
Yeah.
probably start doing that again. I mean, I think everybody, is
I
everybody
can.
comfortable with
I
tablets?
can, but the issue with it is having them set up for you guys to look at them versus you guys taking them home and actually reviewing this stuff at home.
Right.
Without taking them home and reviewing them at home and charging them and having them ready to go when you come to the meeting kind of defeats the purpose, in my opinion, but.
Do you have them now?
I have them in the office, but I don't have the whole set.
Okay,
because
so
they're-
bring them next time, then we'll bring them home. Then you can, you know what I mean? And then we'll make this a process. That by March, we'll be back up on our feet with it. We need to stop killing all these trees, so.
Do we have
It's a great idea. Is that it?
No.
Well, I got something. EMA. Are the applications closed?
Yeah,
How many do we have?
the same ones. Okay.
So we need to have a meeting.
Okay.
We need to-
I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Purdue Road School program. Very popular, yeah. So Rick Ritzler and I have been selected to give a presentation regarding communication between the highway and the auditor's office.
It's all
Hey,
Zoom. It's all
Purdue
Zoom,
Road
right?
School is a big thing, people.
It is. I've been to it many times,
Don't make us look bad.
but it's a Zoom meeting now, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it is Zoom.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Wait a minute, Rick asked me to do that before. I wanted to.
Obviously,
Okay.
that's what you want.
Exactly.
Is that all you
already
have?
had
Yeah,
road
that's all.
school.
What? Didn't
I just want to bring up the EMA position. The application's closed on Friday, and we'll be having a meeting soon,
I'll call a meeting.
hopefully to get a recommendation to the commissioner so we can get this going.
I'll get an email going this so we can make sure it fits Charlie's schedule and your schedule and, the people that were on the executive board for that.
You get quite a few apply, Brian.
We only have 2, and the 2 applicants have no experience in fire, EMS, law enforcement, and I'm still concerned about that lack. We can talk about that at the meeting.
Right.
I do have a question that kind of pertains to that, since we were doing appointments, and there was a lot of questions about the EMA board leading up to this, how we're populating that. Do we have any closer to a solution to how we're gonna?
We have a better understanding of that.
Okay.
And the things that we needed to submit by deadline, I got those submitted by the end of the year and work with the state on that. So we've bought some time as far as the LEPC and the funding for that too, for the new person, and the state is aware. But you're right, there was the air wing I did actually get somebody too involved in that. We don't have anybody in Stark County, but to your question, we do have somebody that's in Valpo and then an oversight from Indianapolis or like further down the state. So we actually have the actual true representation that's qualified for that board now, and they're very communicative too so far. So I will email the group on that so we can meet, and then we can decide if we feel like, you know, where we go with that position. Because the only concern I have is that usually that person has some kind of, you know, experience with, right, you know, something. And so, is there a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there
Our part anyways, not your part.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Who seconded?
The second was from Dot.
Are you just picking somebody?
Well, now if I say Don, there's two possibilities. Charlie, do you want this?
Oh,
You gotta
which
say
Don?
Don, and you got the house.
Right, it was Don.
Sorry about your- What was there to eat?
I tell you, Pete.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Made by Aaron?
Yeah, it was, we bought it.
Never heard Don White call that.
Have a Christmas party because of Rick.
Thank you for clearing that stuff up. That was really helpful. Thank you for clearing up some of that stuff. That was really helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of got the game early.
Guys, have a great night.
You're talking about the planning commission.
Yeah.
So I kind of got caught up in the middle.
Hey, tell me about you too. We can have a club.
Right. Basically, what I wanted to state is that taxes.
No, right, I know. How you doing? I share your experience.
It's a learning experience for me, and I'm trying to do things the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah. The lawsuit.
Where are we hanging on this? I was a little alarmed by the conversation.
Most of it's formalities. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Have fun in Indy. It's gonna be a fun, it looks like it's already starting to be a fun session down there.
Yeah, it's interesting. Look, the whole thing's crazy. Nobody knows their schedule and governor.
Right.
The governor and the speaker.
Tim says,
You know, I mean-
you guys be here this week, so we took the week.
Yeah, no, it worked out. They took a more aggressive position than you really.
29th, that's when we.
Sometimes you have to.
Okay.
We'll see you.
I don't think we
Is absolutely not acceptable.
Oh, yeah. Something that wonderful knocked out of here. Oh,
It's been a while since.
I didn't know if it was.
You know, so yeah, no, and I appreciate how everybody here was willing.
Thanks for doing
Good.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good week.
Yeah.
See you guys.
All right, we'll go ahead and continue with our meeting. First up on our agenda was the planning commission of the zoning discussion, I believe for out at Bass Lake. I guess the question was for, I guess, basically to rezone it to ag is what we were dealing with.
So the status of that, I mean, I guess I think that we'll probably, I did hear from their attorney, today, and what I got from them was, I had discussed with them the need for, that, in my opinion, under the statute, it was required that a petition for a zoning map change, and that's sort of the technical legal name for this process, a zoning map change. It's also called a rezoning sometimes. And that's the process whereby a tract is changed from one zoning classification to another zoning classification. And a petition for that requires that it be signed by landowner owning at least 51% of the property, right? And in actuality, their petition wasn't signed by a landowner at all. It was signed by the developer. But in fairness, you know, the developer did have the permission of the people, so it wasn't like they were doing it against over anybody, you know, against their wishes. But nevertheless, in my opinion, that zoning remapping would be vulnerable to an objection later on that ground alone from another party, and they probably would win that case, actually. And what would happen is it'd go back and start over again, but better to go back and do that now. And he didn't disagree with that. And he did today give me a copy of petitions that were signed by the landowners, but they don't show that they're filed yet with the board. Now, I wrote back to him and asked him if he wanted to appear at the meeting tonight, and I got that he didn't. So I think we're probably not taking any action on that until at least the first meeting in February. And I need to clarify with him whether, in fact, he's starting the process over or what exactly the situation is. And just so you understand about that, this is where you get in the weeds a little bit, because there's also a procedure for notifying neighbors about who is going to, about a potential zoning map change. Okay, and it appears that they did in fact notify all the neighbors. Okay, but the petition hadn't been signed by the landowner, and so the question then arises is whether you have to do another hearing with the notice again. Now, personally, I would tend to say no, because those petitions were put out there, and there was no objection by any member of the public that I'm aware of to the fact that they weren't signed by the landowning party. So the hearing they already had covered the substance, if you see what I'm saying. It's just it's a procedural issue. So I don't know that they have to do that again. Now, honestly, they're the ones that are the proponents of it. So it's not my decision whether they decide to do that over or not. I don't necessarily think that's a problem unless somebody objects to it. So, but I think the bottom line of it is that that you still have some additional time to review that, and I assume that will come up at your next meeting for a decision. The final detail I want to give you, I know this gets to be a lot, but is they're an advisory plan commission. That means that the procedure is that a change in the zoning map has to go to them first. It's filed with them. They're the ones that have the public hearing, but they don't actually make the final decision. They do a certification of that petition to you, and they can either recommend that you grant it, but you deny it, or they can make no recommendation at all. Now, in this case, they recommended granting on some and denial on some. And what does that matter? Now, if you decide, it matters nothing at all. But if you don't decide, then after 90 days, the decision that they make becomes the law. Okay. So that means that we can't wait indefinitely for it to come before your board. You'll have to make a decision on it. And I think that February was when we expected that would be coming up. Of course, the clock might start again if they actually re-petition. So, right. And sort of that's all complicated. But I think the bottom line of it is that it's going to be coming up before you later. And I don't think you can really make the decision on it now, in my opinion.
So it was my understanding that there had been a change there was going to be a change made to their request pertaining to the Swanson and Welker properties.
I think they changed the legal descriptions. Honestly, I just got it.
But that would have been done after their appearance before the planning commission. Would they have to take those modifications back to the planning commission?
I think they did that. Yeah, it's a great question. I think they did that in these new petitions they filed. But honestly, I just got them this afternoon, and I haven't gone through the legal description.
Right. Well, if they just got the petitions in today, does that mean that they have to go to the planning commission again before we make a decision on that? And is there enough time?
I think they should. That's a great question. I think they should.
Okay.
I mean, but they haven't answered that question to me yet, whether they plan to do that. I noticed that in the petitions they sent me, they weren't captioned as being filed in the procedure there again, so I don't know exactly.
I just want to make sure
it's a great question.
We go through all the steps procedurally. We don't skip anything, because I don't want to give anybody an opportunity to.
I totally agree on this. And this is what I talked to their attorney about. I want to make sure that all the procedures are correct, because I don't, you guys decide whether you want to grant it or not. But I want to make sure that whatever happens, that nobody can get it reversed based on some procedural problem, right?
Can I say something?
Yeah, Larry.
Yeah, I just wanted to suggest that maybe you would hear from the developer. Nick Cohen, I know, is on the line, and Chris Shellman, his attorney, and you might want to hear
Oh,
directly.
Shellman's here. I didn't know Mr. Shellman was on, so that's fine. He can explain all this.
No worries. Thank you, Mr. Lucas. I guess first off, the acreage involved was reduced prior to the Plan Commission hearing back in November. So that included removing certain acreage, and generally you could always reduce your request up until the final approval by the commissioners. And it does not require an additional hearing or publishing. Consents by the landowners, are used throughout the state. Tippecanoe County and Marion County specifically use consents for rezoning and various requests. The letter, of the law doesn't directly contemplate that, as Mr. Lucas stated. We did follow up with an additional application today that we were able to track down the landowner signatures. I would point out that we did have signed consents, with the Plan Commission staff, prior to that hearing and with our original application. From hearing tonight, it seems that there might have been some misunderstanding on our part as to whether the board or whether the attorney wanted just to see that there were signatures from the landowners, or that there would actually go back and be refiled. Our opinion is that the request was filed, and that the only matters for discussion tonight are the land owned by Kolish, Welker, and Boak. The Swanson parcels are not, even before this board at this time, as they weren't heard at that Plan Commission meeting back in November. It's a big project. It's a big opportunity with hundreds of millions of dollars on the line. We've been working with the neighbors. We've been working with the homeowners around Cedar Lake. We've been trying to work to see what we can do on that. Ultimately, we don't want to put the board in an uncomfortable position, but timing is important. And we don't believe that another hearing before the Plan Commission would be appropriate, because nothing has changed since then. In fact, the only changes have lessened the request and provided added protections to the homeowners. Whether be heard tonight or at the next county commissioners meeting, ultimately we want to do what makes everybody comfortable. But we would be here if we went back to the Plan Commission. It would be for stuff that's already been discussed.
Thank you, Mr. Shellman. I appreciate that. That all makes sense to me. I just wasn't entirely sure what your plan was when I received those documents today. And I don't see any reason why, like I think I said here before, I don't see any reason why you would have to go back and do hearings again, when in fact you really just reduced the amount of your application, and nobody objected to the form of the application. I just suggested that it could possibly be vulnerable to some kind of complaint later. And so you've cured that. And so it's your desire to proceed now. Are you ready to show everything, or do you want to actually have it come up for a final one at the next hearing, at the next meeting? I'm sorry, I shouldn't say hearing. Or do you want to try to do that tonight?
We're comfortable proceeding tonight.
Okay. Does the board need any additional information on this, or are you all aware of what?
I'd like to see the actual maps again before I make a decision.
Do you have the maps as they are now? I saw I had the legal descriptions, but I didn't try mapping.
I do have maps. I can share my screen.
Oh, no,
if that's all right.
As helpful as I would like. So I'll just make a motion to table this to the February 1st meeting.
All those in favor? Aye. Mr. Shellman, can you can you I think they all want to see the maps before they come in for the meeting.
Sure.
Final maps. And that's not going to be a big problem. I know you'd rather do it now than later, but it's not going to be a big problem for you to do it at the next meeting, is it?
No, we can work with that.
February.
And we also have a packet that was provided to the Plan Commission. And does it appear that worked its way through to the commissioners?
Well, probably just didn't get to me because I'm new.
I didn't get it either, actually. I don't think any of us got it, actually, so that's okay.
With the whole, I handed all the stuff out to you guys, and Mark, but Kathy has his packet.
The new?
Not he said nothing changed since that.
Oh, so this is, okay, this is the up-to-date one. Can you see me?
No, you can't.
No, you can't see me. Went over that. Let's see here. What's the date of this one?
Hey guys, my name is Kim. I'm one of the property owners over at Bass Lake, and kind of interested in this. You had mentioned something about a public hearing. When was that held?
In November.
How were owners around the adjacent property owners association notified? Because I've owned several properties there, as well as other family members. We've got about 8 cottages total on the lake, and none of us received any notification.
The distances for notices are set forth by the Plan Commission. We notified neighboring landowners, as well as there was a publication in the paper of the hearing date. And we have proofs of those publications filed with the Plan Commission.
I agree, but I think you guys have to understand that the community in the area is all recreational, and you're doing this in November when a lot of folks are down in Florida. So people trying to get Knox information is going to be very difficult in the winter time. So I just want to make sure that the community in the area, of it being so unique and diverse, has adequate information and can ask, the right questions and be informed properly. Because I personally did not. And, I've got a mailbox there. I visit there every weekend, even though I don't, my main residence is out of town. And I've not received anything.
Sure. Well,
So I'm not the only one. So that's my huge concern. On this process, just want to be informed and transparent.
Can I make a comment? I'd like to just say that we had a meeting a week ago last Saturday for the residents of the property owners. We had a really
Again, I was not informed. I just found out about that.
I just talked to one of the people from the Bass Lake area, and there was an email sent out to everybody that has an email with the Property Owners Association. So
I understand, but you're talking about a recreational community. Not everybody has emails. Not everybody's there, 100% during the time. And those that do have emails, like myself, my husband, and we've received communications, we also did not. So there was only 24 people on the Zoom link and 25, I think, in person or flip-flopped out of the entire Bass Lake community, which is a very, very low turnout, especially on a Saturday. So I'm just very concerned that the community itself, especially with talks about irrigation going into, the water and stuff that wasn't discussed back in August when I first learned of this project, is now coming up. I mean, there's a lot more concerns that other people have not been able to raise. And like myself, they don't know what to do. I mean, tonight I didn't even get the Zoom link until 7 o'clock, and I tried all day today. So I'm not for or against this. I just want transparency.
Just for the record, this board isn't passing on the issue of whether, the water and.
No, that's gonna have to be something separate.
Right, right.
Separate, and different entities had jurisdiction. Actually, the state of Indiana would have jurisdiction over that.
Yeah, absolutely. My concern, and I'll, if it's okay, can I raise my one concern on this?
Sure.
So my only concern on this is that, 30 years ago, the land was basically petitioned and changed from agricultural to residential, based on the monies for the sewer systems to come into the community, and based on the federal grant requirements. I think the request is to rezone it back to the original state. So my only question or concern is that if the county decides to upgrade that infrastructure later and use any additional federal grants, if it's changed back to farm agricultural, what would that mean? Would it have to be rezoned again? Would that mean we would lose out on grant money to upgrade that infrastructure to support maybe more residents that are coming? or anything like that. So I'm looking more like long-term. You know, I obviously I wasn't here 30 years ago. I wasn't able to vote. I was young. So, you know, I was enjoying the area with my family in many generations, but, you know, learning about the history of Bass Lake and things like that and what has transpired, I just want to make sure that, you know, from a community aspect, we're not setting ourselves up for infrastructure costs later on down the road that would end up, you know, either hindering what is put in to help the community or potentially raise taxes to fund something like that because we missed out based on zoning.
There's the folks that I've spoken to that are on the Bass Lake Conservancy District organization have indicated that that's not a concern going forward. And that is something I'm worried about because I certainly intend to still be here in 30 years, maybe not here, but in Stark County. So yeah, this is something I'm watching very closely, and we're going to keep an eye on all that. And make
Yeah,
sure
that's my future retirement home. So I've got a lot invested there.
Mr. Shulman, can you send me some new packets to my office, the Stark County Auditor?
Sure thing, no problem. And I would like to you know, just to clarify, we're talking about approximately 350 acres here. So not a big dent into the overall acreage that's surrounding the lake.
It's still a large amount. I mean, you can do a lot with 350 acres. I mean, especially if you're going to farm it out or rent it out to somebody and yield, you know, $700 an acre crop, and, you know, or rent it for $150 an acre crop. You know, I mean, there's a lot of money involved, you know, compared to the solar project and everything. So, I mean, there's money on both sides, but I mean, you know, DNR, I've got questions for them, especially with the, you know, the wildlife that we just recently got back in the area, you know, the last 10 years and the protected fish within the lakes, you know, the bald eagles that are really starting to take off. I mean, there's a lot more impact that I want to make sure that is assessed and reviewed because everybody around the lake wants to be there forever and wants generation after generation after generation. So that's a major concern.
Mr. Chauvin, so I guess Rachel already asked you about updated maps so that the commissioners will have the current maps. I think we've only got the one with the prior iteration. Okay.
That's not a problem.
Okay,
I'll get those to you tomorrow.
Okay, great, thanks a lot. So I guess you've already moved to the table, and I just wanted to clarify those issues. Sorry to extend this long meeting even more.
We're just here to stand behind the boats that's in the project that you're talking about.
Right.
To be both in Howard.
Okay.
And it's not real, it's not even close to that. You can't even see the land involved from the Highway 35 or we're 3 miles away from Bass Lake. The boat farm,
right?
Representing the boat farm. We're 3 miles away, and the farms that are there, we have aging neighbors, and we have good relationships with the aging neighbors, and we've talked to them, and they seem to be very positive.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I think with that said, we'll, I think we're okay with this for now. We tabled it, so we'll move on. And we'll go through the, is there a motion to approve the payroll claim in the amount of $288,089.99?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Thank you.
Aye. Motion to approve the vendor claims in the amount of $304,829.39.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
forgot to print out your minutes from the 4th, so you don't have minutes to approve tonight.
Yeah, okay.
Mine's back.
Then we got the territorial engineering sidewalk project proposal. I guess we approved it last year. In the last year, I think December, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is just what they came up with, I guess.
Mhm.
That's just fitting the, what we had, the amount we posed pretty much, right?
Is this the proposal on him being the, engineer?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's him proposing to be the engineer on it, which, yeah, it's kind of a routine thing,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, so this is territorial engineering,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
not to exceed 4,000?
Yeah.
Yeah, to oversee the project essentially.
Right.
I'd make a motion that we, take territorial engineering, not to exceed the $4,000 for this project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we got the rest of our appointments for the boards. I think one of the first ones up was, Stark County Drainage Board. I think Ken Porter was the only one that turned it in on that. There's, was there a motion to approve? Want to go into that?
Thank you.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
These, where are these two?
That's
Say 2029.
Well, one would be the spot, and then, I think that grade on there, I think we put him in later, or what was it? There was something, maybe the year didn't get changed. Or something.
No, he's up this year too, but they get appointed by other drainage boards.
Okay, so that's not our appointment, all right.
Okay. Then we have Percy. Yep. Percy will be the next.
And we have the existing and an additional, a letter from Rachel and from. So I'll make the motion that we appoint Rick Rixler and Rachel Younger to
Percy. For a second. Sorry. All in favor, aye. Next will be on the planning commission. We got 2 spots. One Republican, one Democrat.
I think we have, I think
who we get after these.
Looks like Sarah Shaw.
the top Lawrence still want to be on that. I thought he
I
did.
thought I saw something, but I can't find it in my file.
I think he did
It-
want to be.
So you have top Lawrence, Sarah Shaw, and Monica Miller. But Monica Miller's a D,
Yeah.
so
Well, we've got, and who's, do we know what?
Sarah
Shaw.
Shaw.
Okay.
We got Monica.
Well, we do have to replace.
Yeah, Todd. Which I don't know if I did see,
I didn't get anything from him, but I thought I heard he still wanted to be on.
That's what, I mean, I did too, I guess, but
Well, can we,
we can accept that for,
Hey, Charlie,
yeah, Bill.
I did talk to Todd and he was interested in staying on the board. I mean, I don't know what you guys want to do with that, but I did personally speak to him. So choices.
until we get a letter or just go off that? We don't have to have a letter go.
No.
No, you don't have to.
No.
That's just a policy, but if you, you know, somebody who's on there already. if they,
Yeah, I
you know,
want to, you know, keep on there.
I don't think you have to.
Reappoint them.
Cool.
So is there a motion to, for Monica Miller and on the planning commission and to reappoint Todd Lawrence?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Board of Zoning, I know I had got a letter from Robert Turkey. He's a Republican spot on there, he wants a reappointment, and then there's a Democrat spot on there.
I didn't get anything for them.
Nothing. Okay, so
I'll make the motion to reappoint Robert Troiki, zoning board.
second, all those in favor, aye. And the Democrat spot, I guess we can just leave open until somebody comes up.
Which board we're on now?
Zoning board.
BZA,
They could do a public hearing, couldn't
I guess it'd be kind of balance, it'd be equal balance.
Yeah.
I don't have a Republic, I mean, I don't have any.
No,
more
okay, right,
letters
okay,
anyway.
But you
Yeah,
could
that's how
actually-
it should-
I mean,
it's possible to go
It's
either
listed
way.
as 3 Ds and 2 Rs, but it could be 3 Rs and 2 Ds.
Right. So it'd be balance.
So, yeah, so we've got the balance, so this position that's open can be either Democrat or Republican.
Well, you could, if you wanted to see if that Sarah Shaw wanted to serve on BZA rather than planning commission.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, let's just put it out there that it's open and
At least she's paying attention.
the health board, 2 spots, both Republican spots.
Yeah.
I think Donna Bailey wanted to be reappointed.
We got a few for that.
Yeah,
Donna Bailey and Angie Banks
yeah,
both
both
wanted to be reappointed.
reappointed, and then
No, we have third.
Tricia.
Third.
Yeah. What do you guys want to do? Reappoint the 2 or want to add a new person?
Ryan, you got an opinion?
So far, we've been doing pretty good, haven't we? As far as I know.
So I'll make a motion to reappoint Donna Bailey and Angela Banks to the health board.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Right.
And we got the library board, 1 appointment on there. We got.
Yeah.
3 people for that.
Well, that council did one.
Oh, yeah,
that one.
yeah. The justice, they did that.
So we just gotta decide which is.
Julie Smith and Marcia Bachner.
Going by the word count, I give it to Julie.
One more effort. Was that a motion?
Yeah, I'll make that motion that we appoint Julie Smith to the library board.
Second. All in favor, aye.
Aviation board. And we did get a letter from Jim Long.
Right, yep.
So I'll make the motion, we reappoint Jim Long to the aviation board.
Second. All in favor, aye. hospital, community board, one Democrat spot and one Republican spot.
I'll make a motion, we keep Ted Hayden and Marty Bedrock.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Alcoholic beverage board, one spot, that's Republican.
I didn't see that, but the letter for that. Did we get one for that?
Yeah, I don't, it's, yeah, maybe that's up something.
Okay.
I know before.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Kathy said-
Well, yeah, no. Yeah.
Kathy had said that Marv was gonna, he was coming off anyways, but, it was his, grandson.
Yes, I didn't get,
Josh.
I didn't get a letter for it, but I do remember
Josh
that.
Brown. I guess he wanted to be on there.
Okay, we're certain about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know.
What was his name?
Josh Brown.
Josh Brown?
I'll make the motion to appoint Josh Brown to the Alcoholic Beverage Board.
Second. All those in favor? Aye.
Know enough about it.
What's that?
City Planning Commission, one Republican spot, one Democrat spot.
Oh, yeah.
Mark.
This is for the unincorporated area.
So I don't see any other besides these two.
Right.
Yeah, probably not.
I move that we appoint Mark Simpkins of Knox and John. Have we verified that these guys are outside of, do they have to be outside of city limits?
We have to be within 2 miles.
Yeah,
Okay.
outside the.
So that motion.
Yeah, I'll make the motion to appoint Mark Simpkins and John Wilson.
Second. All those in favor, aye. And the PETA BOA board, 2 spots. Well, I think we did Todd that last time we appointed him.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Democrat spot is up.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, Todd can't do it anymore.
Oh, he can't sit on that?
No, because that's the counts as lucrative
Oh,
office.
okay, yeah. Yeah.
But we
So
did
he
get,
can't be on there. So, okay, so we got a Republican spot and a Democrat.
this says she's a Democrat.
Right.
Carol,
Yep, she's wants reappointment.
Yeah.
And then,
No. Is Bill File?
Not sure.
did you have somebody who wanted it?
Well, I've got 2 letters from 2 different people.
Carol and Phil.
But it says vacant, but isn't that, you know what?
Well, that was the council spot, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, right, they have, that's the person that has the section on level 2, I believe.
Oh, is that, well, did they put this?
So that is vacant. I don't think we got a hope we don't have a problem there. But, oops.
So Ollinger needs to be appointed by the council?
Well, actually, I don't think the level 2 if we have 2 empty ones,
Then the commissioners can.
could appoint Ollinger, in my opinion, and then that just leaves the other one open, and that way they can at least have a meeting, because here's the thing, if you don't have the level 2, you can't do anything.
Right.
So it'd be better for you to just go ahead, if they didn't appoint Ollinger, I don't know, I guess that was a little mix up there. So I would say you would go ahead and do that. Even though she's not, you understand she's not a county resident, but it's allowed in this case because we have to have a level 2 in those meetings with the PETA BOA. You never have, you can't do any business without having a level 2 present. But you could do business with a level 2 and one other person. That would be enough to have a meeting.
Well, then I'll make the motion to appoint.
which, Carol, what's,
Olinger is her name, right?
Carola,
That-
she's level 3, it says on there.
Yeah, you have to have a.
Level.
Is Carolyn 3 now?
That's what it says.
Oh, well,
Yeah. You have to have 2 levels and then like the other person doesn't have to have a level.
Okay.
yeah, the one that's left is the citizen member.
Yeah.
That was Todd's slot,
Okay.
but that's vacant.
Well, I don't know how to pronounce these names.
Carol
Doing her
Heilstadt. Yeah.
I'll make sure it's right in the minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make the motion to appoint, Carol Heilstadt and Phil?
Yeah, Phil, that's what she goes for,
Okay.
Phil.
Phil Olinger to the Peterborough Board.
All in favor? Aye.
And I think that means you could take a person from either party, 'cause I think Phil's a Republican and Carol is a Democrat.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So you can fill that one with either party.
Then we got the CBC, I guess, there's quite a few wanted to be on there.
That's
We need 9.
12.
We need 9, right? Yeah.
Need 9, I have 12 here.
We got 12?
Go from nothing to something, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4, yeah. Okay. Well, there's a familiar name.
Are they all up for appointment?
Do they,
Yeah, the board doesn't exist right now.
That's right, okay.
This board has not existed in a couple of years.
Right.
is there a political affiliation split that has to be maintained?
I believe there is.
Last time, of course, we were seeing 3 Republicans and 1 Democrat.
I'm not very well prepared on this one, I think I need to look through these.
We can
I
probably
would make a motion to table the appointments to the CBC.
second.
I'll let you know, maybe
All
you
in
send me
favor?
those. Because, you know, it gets complicated.
It's in your pile.
Yeah.
You have-
Oh, do I? Okay, okay.
Okay. Building department partially. Oh, yeah. No, there's 3 more left, okay. Building court, did you get anything for building court?
Oh, yeah, the building court.
I don't think we did. So that, I guess that doesn't have to be a political affiliation on that, right?
I don't think so.
Um,
As you know, the
No.
building corp, you think it does? I don't think so.
no.
And really, the building corp just
Oh,
basically,
yeah, because we had, because I thought it does, because Kenny had to be on there because he was a D.
Oh, okay.
That vacant spot should be Kenny.
So, yeah, they pointed Kenny to that, right?
Yeah, but Kenny,
The
should be
council
in that
did.
line. Kenny Wallace.
Do you want to table that one until we find out?
Make a motion to table our appointment to the building court.
we don't have a deadline
Is
on
there a
it.
second?
No.
Second.
All's in favor? Aye. Park board, 1 spot, Republican. Didn't Kathy want to be on that too?
Well, she was gonna be appointed by the judge, I thought.
Yeah, that's the plan, I think.
Yeah.
She would take the
Okay.
slot that's currently, marked.
I know she had said it before.
So is Chris Lawrence, is he a Republican?
Yeah,
I nominate,
he was on, he was in that spot, right?
yeah, he was.
So they just reappointed him.
Yeah, it's an old list,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So reappoint Chris.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
And I saw letters for both of these. The two individuals on the Internal Controls Committee have both expressed an interest to remain. So I'll make the motion to reappoint Carrie Black and Judy Caudell to the Internal Controls Committee.
Second, all those in favor? Aye. And then we gotta discuss, closure to the public. We're gonna keep the buildings closed to the public still. So our next meeting at least again, and
Is that what you want to do?
I think to be safe right now, probably seems to be working fine. Has it, Rachel, and for everything you guys got? So the motion,
That's just a February first.
yeah,
Right, I mean, I think the governor's general rule is that when you go back out of, when you go into orange, then you stay, but you stay the precautions at red for 2 weeks, so that would be consistent with the governor's directive. If you did that, then you could review it. If we stay in the orange, you would then be able to change that if you want.
right. So is there a motion to approve or to go with the closure to the public till February, what was it?
First.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Second, all those in favor? Aye. An update on the bond.
We were able,
Excuse me.
that would be Mary and Pam from the planning commission.
Oh. Oh.
Hi.
Oh.
Why, if we are closed to the public then, why were the contractors then allowed into the building tonight?
That was.
I think.
Because, I was informed that I couldn't have my meeting on January 11th open to the public by Rachel. And then the commissioners now, you're the ones who are making the rules for us, and you broke your own rule tonight.
I guess the issue, because that's what, before the meeting started, I think Dave Pearman actually wanted to have the public in here, so I did not. I wanted to follow what rules we had implemented.
But isn't that the point of having Zoom, is so that it's still open to the public?
Right.
Yeah, unfortunately, this evening, it seems that the county council jumped the gun when they convened their meeting and allowed members of the public in.
Then do you think maybe decisions shouldn't have been made then pertaining to what the public wanted to discuss that?
I don't think.
Maybe that should have been tabled for a later meeting?
It's just your discretion.
No, it's.
Well.
And I believe it was, at everyone's discretion here. I mean, we had to do the meeting. We couldn't just throw everybody out. The council wanted to do it.
I mean, we've had meetings where we've had to reschedule
Right.
and everybody's had to come back. So I don't understand what the difference is then. It's kind of a
For
double.
one thing, just to interject, for one thing, it wasn't on the agenda, and, maybe, in fairness, these citizens showed up in good faith, because they saw the agenda, it didn't say that. So once they were here,
Can I ask if everyone has read the statements of what happened on December 8th that was given to you?
I didn't see nothing.
We weren't given any statements, and the meeting notes from the planning commission were too incomplete to make any other decision than what I put forth this evening.
Okay, because there was 3 statements that were written that
we didn't receive
over the events that happened on December 8th with Mr. Stevenson and me in the office.
We didn't get those, so we weren't able to consider those this evening.
I thought I did, but.
We'll have to move on so we can finish our meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, but.
Any more questions? I have to wait till the end. You had the update on the bond?
Yeah, so we were able to get a crime insurance policy, $300,000. with faithful performance,
Right.
pending Marty's review, because we haven't got the full policy yet.
Right.
So,
It sounds good though.
but it sounds good. It's definitely coming. They're preparing it and we've been approved for it. So we are all good with the bond.
Okay, good.
And I'd like to congratulate Carrie and Rachel.
Right.
Pulling a rabbit out of your hat on that one. That was, I would have bet against it.
Yeah.
And I'm not a betting man.
Right. You have anything else?
No, I don't.
Okay. You got anything else, Ryan? Rachel, you got anything?
Oh, wait, we need to, go back and talk about the economic development. for
Oh, yeah.
some more.
About forgot about it. We gotta discuss that.
Yeah. I mean, because you very specifically wanted to discuss this.
Yeah, right. Cause
Are they still on?
Yeah, still here.
Good.
Still here.
Thanks for sticking around.
Sure.
I guess, well, we kind of got the rough contract in front of us. I guess looking through it, some of the terms, I think, I don't know, I'd like to see changed or go from a 5-year to 1-year contract. And then.
Well, I think Lisa earlier expressed a desire to deal with a single point of contact on our board. If, with your permission, I'd like to be that single point of contact and attend. Is it all right if I attend your meeting on the 25th?
Sure, that would be fine. Or if that's how you want to do it, that's our regular board meeting. Or if you want to meet with myself and a couple of members of the executive committee, we could do that separate from the full board meeting, whichever.
Okay.
However.
I'll reach out to you then, and then we'll start discussions regarding this contract.
That sounds great. That would be great. Thank you.
I guess that's all we need to, you can handle it. Thanks, Lisa.
Okay, thank
Mark
you,
will be
guys.
in contact with you.
Sure, thanks.
I mean, if you have any questions about the terms of it, if I can help you draft it.
You got anything else?
Now, before you guys leave tonight, I need you to sign these courtesy certifications. Yeah.
Okay. Marty, you got anything else for us?
No.
Can me and Pam ask a few more questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
We also were wondering too, why your decision on reinstating Mr. Stevenson, why you overturned that when the planning commission made a motion not to reappoint him.
Because the procedures in which they went through to make that decision, I felt left us a little too open to a legal challenge. And,
I don't feel that you guys have been, I guess, told the entire situation that's been going on.
no, and that's,
And I feel
the
that
fault
you
of the
have-
planning commission board, they're not having the complete minutes for us to review tonight to make a more informed decision. So we made the decision we could make given the information we had available.
That's, we rely on them to inform us. That's kind of why they're sitting in the spot they are. We have to have other boards to inform us to help the facts and everything move along, but we didn't have enough to abide by.
Brian was there on December 8th.
Yeah, I was there. I'm not sure. I just made sure there was.
And he was made aware of what happened that day.
Who was in the wrong? I'm not 100% sure. I just trying to get.
Sir, let me ask you. You know, you were there that day and you have the witnesses and you've heard the statements of the people. Would you like your wife or daughter spoken to that way? Would that be an acceptable form to way it?
I don't know who's speaking, but would you identify yourself, please?
Right here.
Oh, what's your name?
My name's Chris. And
I have last name, Chris?
Yeah, my name's Chris Beaver.
Thank you.
I'm Mary's husband. And, you know, I had to deal with the whole thing that went down that day and how she was spoken to. And I really, really want you guys to read the statements that were made, because I guarantee you, if your daughter, wife, whoever, sister was spoken to that way, you would not be happy and there would not be a question to what needs to be done.
That's one thing, we did not see the statements, and we believe they should have been more of a affidavit that was signed. And that's usually how the process would go. But we didn't see nothing, so we didn't get.
Well, I'm asking
None of that was
you,
reported to us.
in the event that now that you know that there's other information that you haven't received,
Well, then
you
the planning
read,
commission should
you know,
reconvene and make another recommendation and list all of the evidence.
why they made their decision not to reappoint him.
Well, that's the problem. They didn't explain their decision.
On December 8th, we had a contractor come into the office to pay a fine of a $500.
I'm not asking you to explain what happened that day now, especially since we've already made the decision.
I think it would have been best if we would have had the statements in front of us at the beginning of the meeting, but nobody relayed them
you know,
to
here's the
Rachel.
problem. We didn't know though that this was going to be an issue taken up tonight at this commissioners meeting either. It wasn't on the agenda.
None of us in the room here knew that was gonna happen.
Then why was the decision?
No, it was on the agenda.
It was on the agenda for the job description and position, but we didn't know there was gonna be other folks here about Terry or any of that. We didn't know that.
Then why didn't you table that then for another meeting?
There was just not enough proof.
But you made a decision on without all the information.
But
Okay.
I think what we're gonna do here is adjourn the meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Thank you.